Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto Kage level after training trips Sasuke bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Predator216 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. He returns and brings along guests. Kanahigaku no Sato, early morning. The village was just beginning its day, shops opening their doors and bars closing their doors, a few of them throwing the more persistent customers on the street while banning them for the next few days. The ninja academy was empty and quiet, not for long though. The training grounds were in use, some of them noisy with thunks of weapons, ninjutsu practice, or the periodic shout of youth followed by several shouts of Lee and Gi sensei, something that almost everyone stayed away from, in order to hold on to their sanity. Shinobi could occasionally be seen hopping over rooftops, on messenger duty if not returning or leaving for a mission. Those with more covert assignments weren't seen at all, of course, but they were also there. Konoha was always and ever bustling, over and under the surface, exuding an aura of peace and serenity. Exactly 3 minutes before 7, the deceptive image of peace and quiet was shattered by a loud puff of smoke that covered the entire Hokage monument, catching everyone's attention. The surprised expression on everyone's face soon turned into one of incredulity and horror, as the smoke was eventually blown away by the winds. The reason for this horror and incredulity? The Hokage monument, the feature symbolizing their standing as the strongest among the various hidden villages, had been defiled and defaced with paint. The Shodaime Hokage's face had a perpetual running nose, while the Nidaime Hokage had an ever-present sweat drop. The Sandaime Hokage had an expression as though he was high, while the Yondaime had a running nosebleed, as a book with a famous title among men and infamous one among women was drawn alongside his face. And finally the face of the Godaime Hokage had a drunk stupid look drawn on her face with bottles of sake drawn beside her face. Curiously, this did not arouse alarm so much as groans and various complaints in the general line of "not again, 5th time this week. And whoever this bastard is, I'll." Several members of the ANBU Black Ops were running towards the source of commotion, their masks showing no emotions on their faces, with a determined gait. However, if one were to look beneath them, the resigned expressions and the black bags under their eyes told a different story whatsoever. The door to the office of the Godaime Hokage was slammed open as a harried-looking young woman rushed into it, only to sweat drop at the scene right before her eyes. There sleeping, with several sake bottles surrounding her while her paperwork lay scattered throughout the room, was the Godaime Hokage. The person standing on the door slack-jawed was a fair-skinned woman of average height, standing at 5 feet 4 inches, and slender build with black eyes and hair. Her hair was straight and shoulder-length with bangs covering her ears and framing her face. She was garbed in a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. This person was Shizen Kato, the first apprentice of the Godaime Hokage and her assistant. "Tsunade-sama!" she shouted, waking the passed-out Hokage in a panic. "I'm awake. I didn't drink anything. You have nothing against me," the Hokage shouted out, waking up in panic only to find her assistant glaring at her the same evil glare that she had whenever she caught her drinking on the job. She then noticed the scattered paperwork and sake bottles and grinned sheepishly at her apprentice. She stood up and flexed her body, working out the kinks formed due to sleeping on her chair. As she stood up, she heard the commotion going around the village and could do nothing but groan. Another prank? She sighed. She truly hated the blonde bastard and his perverted teacher for bringing her back to the village and taking the job. This past week had caused her infamous temper to reach her limit, causing her to snap at almost everyone. If only they could find the culprit, she would personally wring her neck with her bare hands. "As Tsunade-sama, I think you should see for yourself." Shizen pointed towards the Hokage monument behind the busty Hokage and went to stand by the side, knowing that her teacher was about to erupt. Slowly, as if not wanting to know what new horror had been unleashed upon the village, the Hokage turned around and was struck speechless at the spectacle. The expression soon morphed into a smile. However, seeing this smile sent a shiver down Shizen's spine. "Shizen," she began in a calm yet evil voice. "The moment we find the bastard, I want him in my office. I would like to personally oversee their punishment." Shizen was about to reply when a voice interrupted her, shocking her and the ANBU hidden in the room with its presence. "Bachan," the voice began, cheekiness evident in his tone, causing everyone in the room to tense, having not felt the person a moment ago. "You truly need to tell the ANBU to up their training if they are unable to catch a simple prankster." Tsunade and Shizen, slightly recognizing the voice, quickly turned around to confirm their suspicion, while the ANBU got ready to attack the intruder. All of them got the shock of their life when they saw the person who sat at the chair. On the chair was the person who hadn't been in the village for the last near 3 years. If one were to see him for the first time, they would immediately come to the conclusion that the Yondaime Hokage had been brought back to life. He had the same sun-kissed, almost golden, blonde spiky hair that seemed to be spiked in every direction with two bangs framing the side of his face. He had the same cerulean eyes that seemed to be filled with mirth that was somewhat unseen in the ninja world. However, this is where the similarities ended. He had a more angular jaw devoid of any kind of baby fat, with 3 whisker-like marks adding a more feral look to his face that was further enhanced by the foxy smile on his face. The most shocking development was a vertical scar on his right eye, from his forehead to his down to his cheeks. When he stood up, one could see that he was easily 5 feet 9 or 10 inches, a stature that was highly uncommon for his age. The person who had been on a training trip with none other than Jiraiya, the infamous pervert, and one of the strongest ninjas in Konoha, if not across the entire elemental nations. This person was none other than Naruto Uzumaki, apprentice of the said Sannin and Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Another thing that shocked them was the clothes he was wearing. Having seen him wearing only his Kill Me orange jumpsuit, they were surprised to see him in a burnt orange, half-sleeved, muscle shirt that seemed to cling to his lithe and muscular frame, which was something very few ninjas were able to attain. A perfect balance between speed and power. On the biceps there were 2 highlights sewn to them, one with the traditional Konoha symbol, while the other had a symbol of a circle with spirals in it. On his wrists he wore black fingerless gloves with several kanji etched into them. Beneath it he wore a dull white cargo pants, with a weapons pouch on both of his thighs taped to its bottoms. And the ensemble was complete with black, open-toed shinobi sandals. "Good to see that I can shock the current Hokage, isn't it, Bachan?" He spoke, the smirk evident on his face. This seemed to break the shock among the people present, and the blonde was immediately engulfed by the 2 visible people in the room. "Not that I hate being hugged by 2 beautiful women, but don't you think we should discuss about my return first?" Naruto said cheekily. "Ero-sennin is on his way and informed me that he would reach in a few minutes. Moreover, don't you think I would like to brag about how I eluded the ANBU in this village for an entire week?" The last part spoken with pride evident in his voice. Barely had he spoken the last part, when his instincts flared and moving his head slightly dodged an incoming fist by a hair's breadth. Moving further back, he shifted slightly to dodge 2 more punches from the busted Hokage by deflecting them, knowing that blocking them would definitely lead to a few broken bones. The Hokage snarled at the blonde, who was surprisingly dodging her every punch. "Stay in one place and take your punishment like a man, you brat. Do you know how much paperwork you have caused with this stunt of yours? And how dare you hide for a week in the village and not inform anyone?" The smile on Naruto's face widened, infuriating her even further. "Come on, Bachan, do you think I'll be like Ero-sennin and take your punches head on? He may be a masochist and a sucker for punishment, but I have no intentions to walk in his footsteps in that matter." The rest of the room's sweat dropped at the casual way of the boy's reply and the way he was still dodging the punches. The last remark seemed to have its effect as the Hokage stopped her onslaught and simply decided to bore a hole into the fellow blonde with her glare. "You better tell me everything, you brat, or you will be a pulp on my wall in the next few minutes." Tsunade threatened, succulently causing a small amount of sweat to trickle down Naruto's neck. "First, Jiraiya and you simply vanished without any kind of report except the monthly ones. And they simply informed me that you were safe and the training was going well. And now, suddenly you come to Konoha and decide to wreak havoc, running the ANBU and Chunin ragged. Further, the fact that you were supposed to return 2 months ago, and suddenly I get a message from Jiraiya that the trip is extended for 2 more months. So, what the hell has been going on?" By the end of the monologue, one could see the anger once on the Hokage's face. "You know Haim," another voice spoke before Naruto could reply, making everyone direct their attention towards the window to see another figure sitting on the sill. "The way you are talking seemed as if you were worried about me and the Gaki." The person was a tall man, standing at a goof 6 feet 3 inches, with waist-length, spiky white hair tied back into a ponytail, with 2 shoulder-length bangs that framed both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with the kanji 4 oil, abura, denoting his affiliation with Mount Maiboku. He also had a noticeable wart on the left side of his nose. He wore a green short shirt kimono and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that showed out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. His outfit was completed with handguards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese geta, wooden sandals, a red haori with 2 simple yellow circles on each side, and a scroll on his back. This person was Jiraiya, one of the famous Densetsu no Sannin and the Gamma Sannin. He quickly hopped off the ledge and made his way towards his apprentice. "You really have worked the ninjas in the village, haven't you, Gaki?" Naruto simply shrugged. "Meh, they are supposed to be the elite. If they can't catch a simple prankster in a week, it means they need to train even more. They are starting to get arrogant thinking that they are the elite. And anyways, my infiltration, if you could call it that, has shown so many breaches in security that had I been an assassin, I could have harmed the village without anyone even finding out about it." He suddenly turned serious. "Whoever is taking care of the barrier seals is doing a shitty job. The seals overlapping those of Mitoba-chan's seals are horrendous. Those need to be replaced as soon as possible. Jiraiya simply sighed while shaking his head at the boy's remarks. Kid, just because you get seals easily doesn't mean everyone does as well. The sealing corps in Konoha are among the best across the nations, and that is because they had help from me and Minato. But if what you say is true, I will go and check them later on. Will you two stop talking as though you are the only people in the room and tell me what the hell is happening in here? Tsunade nearly shouted, breaking Shizen from the shock at seeing the hyperactive idiot in front of talk so seriously. Tsunade continued, regardless, what the hell happened in these years? First, you two are completely off the grid. Now the brat is talking about Fuinjutsu as though he is a seal master, and how the hell does he even know about Mito Basin? And how the hell did he infiltrate the village and hide in it for 1 week without even alerting someone? Whatever reply she was about to get was interrupted when someone knocked at the door. Tsunade was about to shout at the person to not disturb, but the option was taken from her hand when Naruto went forward and opened the door to allow another person to enter the room, causing the busted Kage to gain a twitch in her eyebrows. Everyone's focus turned towards the new people who entered the room. The first to enter was a girl of below average height, standing at 5 feet 2 inches, with an orange clip in her short, spiky mint green hair that matched her eye color, which was also orange. Her outfit consisted of a short, sleeveless, white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets and fishnet shorts with a short white apron over it, and finally she had a cylindrical container wrapped in a red cloth. It was the second person who entered the room that had caught everyone's interest. Beautiful. If anyone had to describe the person, this would be the most apt word. Midnight black hair that shimmered like silk in the sunlight was tied back loosely, allowing her fringe to fall across her face like water cascading down a waterfall. She had light honey brown eyes which were sharp, a little cold, and glowing with intelligence. Her cherry red lips contrasted sharply with the woman's flawless porcelain white skin. The black hair and red lips coupled with the woman's pale complexion gave her the appearance of a cold feminine beauty. She was dressed in a blood-red kimono, which was tied together loosely by a yellow sash. Her kimono was quite fitting, accentuating her curved figure. To say she was voluptuous would be an understatement. She also had what looked like a kodachi strapped to her sash. Shizen, seeing that the volcano would soon erupt, decided to intervene. She turned towards Naruto, curious as to who the girl was and how he knew her. Naruto-kun, who are they? Tsunade also looked at the duo, wanting the answer to the same question. However, she was looking at the girl intently as though she had already seen her before and was trying to remember where. Naruto and Jiraiya saw this and decided to introduce them, one of them standing behind the duo, while the blade-wielding woman stood beside him, her face exuding a calm confidence. He began while pushing the somewhat scared girl ahead, who was violently shaking her head, something which was easily overlooked by the blonde. Is Fu, former ninja of Takigakure, whereas he then glanced towards the woman standing beside him, is a Kejinu, of the former IJ node Subagakure. Fu-chan here wants to ask something from you. The ex-Taki ninja was again trying to hide from the direct scrutiny that was enhanced by the fact she used to be the ninja of another village. The now known Ikejinu, however, looked calmly across the room, her scrutinizing gaze falling on each of the members of the ANBU, shocking said ANBU at being discovered. Taking a few deep breaths, she calmed down and bowing low spoke, "Ohayo gozaimasu, Hokage-sama. I request you to allow both of us to join the Konoha Shinobi Corps." The entire room, except for the 2 smirking male and the 1 female ninja, went pin-drop silent at the declaration. The silence was broken when Tsunade snapped her fingers and pointed it towards Fu. "I remember you. You were in the last Chunin exams held in Konoha and Suna, weren't you? The one who saved Team Asuma?" "Hi, Hokage-sama." Fu responded, a cheerful look on her face, having been remembered by perhaps the most powerful kunoichi across the elemental nations. "The last time I saw you, you were happy being a Taki ninja. Why would you like to join Konoha?" The suspicion was entirely evident in the question, something which Naruto felt was necessary, being the leader of the village. He looked towards Jiraiya, who nodded and took a step further, clearing his throat to get the attention. "It would be best if the brat explained, Haim. There are a lot of things that you need to be informed." The serious tone caught Tsunade off guard, having heard it only a few times. And she knew that whatever the discussion was about to be, was going to be something she needed to take seriously. She didn't have time to contemplate as Naruto came forward, and in a tone she never expected to hear from the blonde, spoke, "Hokage-sama, Chunin Naruto Uzumaki, ninja registration number 012607, reporting after 2 years 9 months training trip." Switching to her Hokage mode, Tsunade replied, "At ease, Chunin. And report." Naruto nodded. "Hokage-sama, requesting room to be blacked out." Giving a questioning look to the blonde, Tsunade nevertheless made a few hand gestures, the ANBU leaving the room with Naya sound, leaving only the original occupants in the room. Naruto turned towards the window, shaking his head with a soft smile on his face. Why don't you join us as well, Kakashi-sensei? He said, resulting in a pair of raised eyebrows in the case of Tsunade and Shizen and a chuckle in the case of Jiraiya, seeing his apprentice surprise people with his skills. He couldn't wait till he showed them his true growth. After all, he had trained the kid. Of course he would flourish. His inner monologue regarding his greatness as a teacher was broken when a swirl of leaves marked the arrival of another person. The person was a fit and relatively tall shinobi, standing at a good 5 feet 9 inches, with gravity-defying silver hair, with a single black eye while the other was covered by his tilted Konoha hideate. The rest of his face was covered by a mask over the lower half of his face, which hid his narrow jawline. He had a general lazy expression and a somewhat minimalist attitude, hiding his true genius. This person was none other than Hatake Kakashi, famous throughout the elemental nations as Sharingan no Kakashi. He was garbed in the standard attire of the forces, consisting of an elite Konoha, neon flak jacket, dark blue pants and a long, sleeve shirt with the addition of wearing shorter fingerless gloves with metal plates on the backhand. In his hands was a familiar orange-covered book, something that he was seen with almost every time. In an aloof manner, something that he was known for, he tilted his head and with his face crinkling into an eye smile, he waved at everyone. Yo Naruto, Jiraiya-sama. Good to see that you both are back. Here his smile turned somewhat mischievous. And that too with 2 beautiful women. You can't believe how proud I am of you, Naruto. You truly make your sensei proud. The last part was said with while wiping fake tears from his eyes. You are misinterpreting, Bakairu. We helped Fuchan because she needed our help. The same with the Kejinu-chan. And of course they will be beautiful, it is almost a prerequisite that a kunoichi will be beautiful. Naruto added nonchalantly, all the while ignoring the growing blush on the Fu's face and the soft smile that formed on Akejinu's face. The best thing you have ever said, my young apprentice. The boisterous voice of Jiraiya sounded. Truly, the only thing constant throughout the shinobi world. No matter where you go, you will find beautiful kunoichi, and for someone like me who appreciates their form. He was interrupted mid-sentence courtesy of a swift punch depositing him on the floor. However, nobody even batted an eyelid, as for most of them it was a regular action. She then turned towards Naruto, a dangerous glint on her face. Brat, if you tell me you have become a pervert like him, I'm going to give you a beating worse than anything you have ever received. To everyone's surprise, Naruto simply waved his hand nonchalantly. Come on, Bachan, don't you have faith in me? Of course I'd never become something like him. But just the fact that I am a teenager means that I'll be attracted towards girls. It's up to me how I handle it. I'll see and wait for it, Brat. I hope that you don't become like him. Now I've waited long enough. I want answers and I want them now. Alright, Bachan. Shoot and I'll answer. Where have you and the pervert been all this time? The first few months we were just traveled from place to place, most of the time within Hai no Kuni, and spent time training as much as possible. After that we went to Yuzushiogakure, or what remains of it, and spent a year there. Well, I spent most of the time there. Erokyofu would return every other day for his research. The man truly is a masochist. He sighed and focused only to find Jiraiya standing by the side, while most of the people in the room had faces so pale that even Orochimaru would feel jealous. What? What happened to you guys? Tsunade croaked. Why, you went to Yazushio? Yeah, it belonged to my clan, so why wouldn't I go? Naruto asked, confusion evident in his voice. Tsunade turned towards Jiraiya. You told him? I had sensei letter telling me that he was supposed to be informed only on becoming Chunin. There was a hint of anger in her voice that wasn't lost on anyone. Jiraiya replied, once more in a serious voice. A few years ago, before sensei died, he altered a law. According to the law, the Sannin, among having free travel rights, had another right, allowing them to promote an on-field genin up to the rank of Chunin. After 6 months of training, I thought Naruto was capable of the rank and field promoted him. And that allowed me to tell him about his parents. Both of them, along with giving him those part of their legacies that they had entrusted on me. And before you start about you being the person to disclose them, I am his godfather, and that gives me precedence over you. The entire room, except for Naruto and Fu, was shell-shocked at this revelation. Tsunade immediately countered, that's not the point, you pervert. I know the damned law. What I do care is the fact that you failed to inform me. Do you know how much paperwork I will need to do just to get over this mess? Naruto, with a twitching eyebrow, turned towards Jiraiya. Please, tell me she's joking, Erokyofu. Please tell me you did not forget to send my promotion forms just because you were peeping on a few girls? There was some desperation evident in his voice. Everyone turned towards the perverted Sannin, only to see him fumbling through his pockets looking for something. A couple of seconds later, he took out a somewhat dusty scroll and nervously placed it on the desk, while retreating as back into the room as possible. He rubbed his neck nervously. I might have forgotten to do so in order to celebrate for the brat's promotion. He. Damn it, Ero-sennin, he shouted, jumping at his mentor, trying to pummel him to death. As the commotion was going on, Tsunade took the scroll and went through it, not paying attention to it lest she lose her remaining sanity. She was simply happy she didn't have to do any paperwork regarding the brat's promotion. She cleared her throat to get back on track. The day had just started and she could feel the headache she was to receive. Pummel your teacher after the explanation, brat. Now tell me why you went to Yazushio? The last I remembered it was completely ruined. The blonde stopped and grinned, mischief evident in his smile. You know, Bachan, our clan truly was awesome. Did you know there were catacombs below the whirlpools? And within the catacombs there was an entire compound-like area? And only the blood of a descendant to the official clan head could gain access to it? The surprises seemed to be coming in waves for everyone else, as the room was shocked still at the revelation that the Uzumaki clan went to this extent to protect themselves. They soon realized that even their village had such places hidden in the Hokage monument, so it wasn't inconceivable for Yazushio to do the same. If the catacombs were below the whirlpools, then how did you find them? Tsunade asked, dreading the answer. Here, Jiraiya shuffled nervously. I might have thrown the brat, after becoming somewhat overzealous in our training, into the water. Silence permeated throughout the room hearing this. It was eventually broken by Tsunade's voice. You asshole, what the hell were you thinking? Were you out of your bloody mind doing something like that? Jiraiya whimpered at that tone. It was the tone that meant that he was going to get a serious beatdown. And he knew that he deserved that one sort of. Fortunately, his apprentice came to his rescue. Bachan, he waved nonchalantly. There's no need to be angry, you know. We got overexcited with training and it just happened. Moreover, it led to us finding my true legacy from Ka-chan's side. So, all in all, it was a gain in my side. Tsunade took a few deep breaths, calming herself down while Kakashi raised his hand. What did you find there, Naruto? Mostly scrolls related to Fuinjutsu, a few more odds and ends. The true ingenuity was in the fact that should any person other than the true clan heir try to read the scrolls, they would only be able to read scribbles. Erokyofu tried many things, but was unable to decipher the seals. By their standards, he would be just a level 6 or 7 seal master. They truly were a fearful bunch. I still don't get how they could have been defeated. Sheer number of shinobi's, brat. Jiraiya responded. It took the combined might of 3 great villages and a couple of the smaller ones to defeat them. Remember that. He then turned towards the rest. What the brat says is true. The things they did with just their blood seals was beyond my comprehension. Anyways, the next half year was spent in training and I'd like to apologize in advance, but I can't disclose the identity of my teachers. It was their condition for letting them train me. Tsunade was about to demand the answer, but Jiraiya beat her to it. Don't try, Haim. I've tried multiple times. He won't tell, even if you are his Hokage. The trust of his teachers means that much to him. Tsunade bristled at that, which Naruto tried to mellow down a bit. Don't worry, Bachan. My duty lies towards Konoha and nobody else. It's just that they trusted me and I don't want to break it. I can promise you that they are not enemies of Konoha and won't try to bring harm to her. And should they try to harm the village? Tsunade asked in her no-bullshit voice. If it ever happens, I will protect the village no matter what the cost. He replied seriously, getting a proud look from everyone in the room. Now Tsunade began, can you tell me the reason for so much secrecy? Jiraiya sighed, not liking what he was going to say next. You know I had to take care of my spy network as well, Haim. I couldn't send you monthly reports where I was or where I would be. Moreover, I had to hide Naruto from Akatsuki as well. I couldn't let them know that he was outside of the village protection. Tsunade nodded, understanding the importance of such secrecy. This didn't mean she had to like it. She decided to move on to the next matter. Now, I know Fu here belonged to Taki and I'm intensely grateful of her for helping Team Asuma in the previous Chunin exams. But Akejino-san here, I know nothing about her or this IJ note Subagakure, marking her a risk to the security for the village. What I want to know is why they would like to join the village, and why should I let them, if I let them in the first place, that is. Naruto took a deep breath, knowing that with his next words, shit would hit the bricks. Fu-chan here was not liked at all by her village, treated as though she was a monster in human skin, her village leader, Shibiku, being the only person to treat her kindly and not as a monster. She even had to live in a tree in a remote part of her village. She tried making friends among the villagers, but they would usher their kids away thinking that she would taint them. And all for a reason that she wasn't even in control of. In fact, the reason for her misery was none other than your grandfather, the Shodaime Hokage. With each line Tsunade's face paled further, suspicion creeping on her. It was only the last line the blonde spoke that confirmed what she was dreading. She took notice of the somewhat angry tone in his voice and decided to deal with that after everything had settled. Taking a few deep breaths, she sighed. Is she the Jinchuriki of the Nanabai? Yes. Naruto replied, his voice sharp. Fuck. Tsunade cursed lowly, gaining a shout of Tsunade-sama from Shizen, before turning once again to Naruto. You do know you have created a political nightmare for me, haven't you? Taki might protest, asking her back. It is only a matter of time before the secret of your being a Jinchuriki is known to other villages, and once it is known we have two of the strongest Biju, they might think of it as an act of war. That is why her status as one is only going to be known among us and nobody else. And Taki isn't going to ask for her. And why won't they, Naruto-kun? Shizen asked. Because according to their records she is dead, he replied nonchalantly. Seeing their confusion, he elaborated. About 4 months ago, just after the Konohasuna joined Chunin exams, Erokyofu and me came across a confrontation. 3 ninjas of Taki were in combat with 2 ninjas, who wearing black cloaks with red clouds. Ignoring the shouts of what from the remaining people, he continued, both of them were people we hadn't seen before. However, we could see that they had killed Fuchan's teammates while she herself was held unconscious by one of them, making it easy to deduce that she was a Jinchuriki. It was a rather moot point due to the concentration of Nanabai's chakra in the area. Erokyofu and I, with help from Akejino-chan, decided that we couldn't let them take her. So we confronted them. Tsunade's, Shizen's and Kakashi's eyes nearly popped out of their eyes hearing this. Not much was known about Akatsuki except for the fact that all of them were S-rank ninjas, ninjas capable of fighting Kage-level ninjas. Ninjas like Jiraiya were capable of fighting them, however they knew nothing of his skills he'd gained. And seeing that they were standing here unscathed, it could only mean they'd somehow defeated or made them retreat. Naruto, seeing their skepticism, shook his head. No, we did not defeat them, not permanently. They were 2 of the most bizarre people I have ever encountered. One of them kept talking about taking Erokyofu's bounty. His name was Kakuzu, I think. The other was worse. Trash talking as though his life depended on it while constantly proclaiming about some Jashin. His name was Haiden. Erokyofu fought Kakuzu while I faced Haiden. The thing is, when we fought, he fought with a reckless abandon, not seeming to care even a little bit about himself. The reason I found out after about 10 minutes. I cut his arm apart, but instead of stopping the fight, he grew more reckless and kept attacking. Seeing as he did not stop, Akejino-chan cut his head off. We turned back to go join Erokyofu in his fight, only for that bastard Haiden to start cursing like a sailor. We were so out of shock that we didn't see Kakuzu come and take Haiden's body, along with his head and hand, and take off into the forest. These people really were monsters, Haim. Jiraiya retorted. Fighting Kakuzu, I had to almost go all the way. Even after I drilled him with Rasengan once, he wouldn't die. I don't know how, but he was able to use all the elements, and he had these weird thread-like things that could detach from his body. Even weirder was that they formed some humanoid creatures and were able to use 1 element each. I ended up destroying 2 of them before he retreated. We came to the one conclusion. Naruto spoke. Somehow, this Haiden was immortal, something he proclaimed throughout the battle, although we had chosen to not pay attention to the drivel he was speaking when we were fighting. Kakuzu we cannot be sure, but Akejino-chan here thinks that his life is somehow connected to those black, thread-like things. Tsunade slumped back into her chair, wiping her forehead of the thin amount of sweat. What are these people? Immortality? How does one justify it? And there are a total of 9 such people in the group and we know nothing about them? I'm afraid so, Haim. Jiraiya spoke lugubriously. I scoured for anything I could on this group and we only have a limited amount of data on them, whereas they seem to have everything about the Jinchurikis, and seem to be prepared to fight them. They might even have the support of a few villages. Kakashi interjected. No one is speaking about them, as though they simply don't exist. So there have to be a few villages, maybe even a major one, who are hiding their existence. And whatever reason they have to collect bijus cannot be a peaceful ones. That's true, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto responded. Kyuubi says that it has a few theories as to what they want, but it isn't sure. Seeing most of them with panicked looks, he tilted his head. What? What did I say? You talked to the Kyuubi? Tsunade shouted, her brain ready to burst from migraine. She'd surely need medication after this meeting. Yeah? I shouldn't? He mused. Of course not, Naruto-kun. Shizen spoke. What if it tries to take over your body? PSH. He scoffed in reply, surprising the others. Kyuubi and me are in a sort of partnership, you could say. I provide it with a few things and it helps me by giving me its chakra voluntarily. I just need to be able to handle the bloodlust. Besides, it doesn't need to try to take over my body. When the moment comes for me to fully control its chakra, it will be all or nothing. I will either defeat him in combat in my mindscape, or it will destroy my body and escape the seal. What the hell are you talking about, you brat? What do you mean fight the Kyuubi? Where do you come up with such things? You mean you don't know? Naruto asked, baffled. Kyuubi told me that in order to gain access to all of its chakra I need to open the seal and defeat it in battle. Only then will I gain its respect and be able to use the chakra without any adverse effect to my body. The entire room was stunned silent at the proclamation. Naruto Tsunade began, surprising the blonde by using his name. Are you sure about this? Is there no other way? Hi, Bachan. Naruto replied with conviction. Kyofu confirmed it himself from the toads in Mount Myaboku. Seeing the vexed look on her face, he gave a soft smile. Don't worry, Bachan, until there is an extremely good reason, I won't fight it until I think I am strong enough. And Kyuubi is going nowhere, and is ready to wait. It told me even with my life's longevity, 100 or so years is nothing for it. All right, brat. Tsunade gave a sigh of relief. I am trusting you on that matter. Don't worry, Haim. Jiraiya spoke. The key to his seal is stored in one of the best toads in Mount Myaboku. And I won't give it to him unless he is ready. Besides, there are a few more things that I need to teach him. And unless he does that, he won't be able to take the Kyuubi head on. You do? Tsunade spoke with her eyebrows raised, while Naruto shouted, aggravated that his teacher hid things from him. Of course I do. Jiraiya scoffed. Did you really think that I, the gallant Jiraiya, only had that many things to teach you? I thought you had faith in me. Oh woe me, my apprentice thinks such lowly of me. He wiped a few fake tears for added effect. Cut the crap, Kyofu. Naruto accused. What more do you have to teach me? Patience, you brat. Jiraiya spoke, unaffected by the death glare sent to him by the blonde. When the elder toads grant permission, I'll let you know. But for now, focus on enhancing the things that I've taught you and leave the rest to me. All right. Geez. I'll do that. There are a few projects that I need to take care of and a few things I need to perfect. I'll do that. Good. Jiraiya nodded, satisfied at the response before turning towards Tsunade. Now, anything else you need, Haim? Yes. Tsunade replied, now somewhat happy that the gloomy thoughts were out of the way. You guys did not tell me how you came across Akejuna-san here. I also want you to tell me what the brat's rank should be. Should I let him continue as a chunin or does he deserve promotion? Chuckling sheepishly, Naruto began. Yeah, sorry about that. Got sidetracked. Anyways, we came across her when we were in Kuni. After finishing our stint in Yuzushio, we were going to U to see if I could get some missions to gain experience. We had set up camp for the night, and I had gone to search for some food and water, when I came across her bloody body floating face down in the river. Jiraiya looked like he was going to interject, but one scathing look from Akejunu made him balk and stop himself. The rest of the people in the room sans Naruto and Fu seemed astonished that the self-proclaimed super pervert was stopped by a mere glare. Tsunade swore that she would learn how the woman had done that. Naruto continued, I immediately brought her to camp and started treating her. She had lost a lot of blood and it took the help of a medic toad and almost all of our supply of blood pills, but we were able to stabilize her condition enough to take her to the nearest doctor. We were lucky that any of her major organ hadn't been damaged or else we wouldn't have saved her. He did not think it necessary to inform that she had been half naked, nor the actual process they had used, something that he had already discussed with Jiraiya and Akejunu herself. There was one major piece of information, which he had skipped, one that he hoped to rectify soon enough. And Tsunade added, genuinely curious about this new person, who was still now standing silently beside the blonde shinobi. What about this Tsubugakure? I don't think I have ever heard about this village before. And you wouldn't have, Hokage-sama. Akejunu interjected the conversation for the first time in the conversation, her voice befitting her stature. We ninjas of Tsubugakure were proficient enough that we were able to keep the existence of our village a secret, with no one from the outside knowing about its existence. Naruto could feel the Anbu tense at this news, knowing that the information about her belonging to another village would make them wary of the person. And while he couldn't see it, he could feel that even Tsunade was surprised at the news. And your reason for joining Konoha? Tsunade asked. Ninjas don't change their affiliation so easily, so you doing such can be seen as a way to infiltrate Konoha. Tsunade purposefully ignored the snort from Naruto, knowing that she would take care of the brat later. As Akejunu continued, you can let me join Konoha because Tsubugakure is longer standing. Seeing the surprised expression on Tsunade's face, she elaborated, I belong to the IGA clan who were one of the two prominent clans residing in the area, the other being our rivals, the Kuga clan. Our rivalry goes back to centuries, even before the advent of the hidden villages, although most of the history is lost due to the rivalry. Tsunade gave a slow nod, knowing how the ninjas themselves had almost no records before the warring clans era, and even that period lacked proper records. The most recent generation was the most bloodthirsty, with a limited number of ninjas fighting each other on many occasions. One such occasion led to my near death. It was a near miracle that I survived, and I am grateful for Naruto-kun for helping me survive. The attention turned back towards the blonde, who was now scratching the back of his neck. You don't need to do that, Akejuna-chan, he said rather timorously, something that surprised the rest of those present. And no matter what you say, I shall forever be in your debt, Naruto-kun. Unheeding of the sigh from Naruto, she turned back towards Tsunade. When I had regained enough of my health for travel, the first thing I did was travel to Tsubagakure to check upon my fellow clansmen. What I found was not something that I wished to go through again. She sighed, as memories of her clansmen and women, most prominent of them being a certain benign yet inept ninja, one she could help but feel that she had failed. All of them were dead. Be they IGA ninja or Kuga ninja. The final battle fought among them costing the life of everyone I knew. Although her face didn't show it, everyone could feel the melancholy in her voice. Naruto brought her in a sideways hug, knowing how much the death of her clan had affected her. He had seen how despondent she had become when she had seen the dead bodies of her clansmen and women, especially the young girls who looked like she did not belong to the place. Seeing as there was no more of my clan left, I decided to travel alongside Naruto-kun and Jiraiya, she continued, her voice breaking the gloomy milieu. Everyone noticed the lack of any kind of honorific with Jiraiya's name, something that was rather surprising. I helped Naruto-kun in training whenever the pervert was not around. Tsunade arched an eyebrow at that, intrigued by this knowledge. And what did you teach the brat? I can hardly feel any chakra from you, barely more than that of a civilian. This was one thing that had been itching her. She could barely get a feel of her chakra, which should have been impossible unless the person was a civilian. But the way she held herself, the grace and the confidence indicated training. And you wouldn't be able to, Akejinu replied with a smirk, not bothering to extricate herself from Naruto. We IGA and Kuga ninja have just enough chakra for our survival, and we have never deemed it necessary to let it be a cripple. Additionally, my meager chakra levels have helped me many a times, be it infiltration missions or seduction missions, as it helps me in blending among the civilians. As for what I trained Naruto-kun in, she gave a mysterious smile to the people in the room, most of them stunned by the ramifications of the things that she could do. I think I would like to keep that a secret. After all, shinobi never reveal their secrets, do they? Of course they don't, Tsunade replied in a mirthful tone, although the effect was somewhat lessened if her twitching eyebrow was any indication. She sighed before rummaging through her desk drawers. The elders are gonna chew my head over this. But what the hell, she grumbled before tossing 2 hideatesh at the now gaping ninjas. She registered the surprised look on Fu's face while Akejinu simply quirked her immaculate brow at her action and smirked. What did you both think? That I was going to procrastinate about how it was impossible for others to join the village? Both of them gave a slow nod in reply, making the busty Hokage snort. You both have been with these 2 idiots for a while. Ignoring the loud shouts of protest from said idiots, she continued, and while I can't speak for the brat, I am relatively sure about the skills of the pervert. And if he thinks it is okay for you to join the village, I will allow it. Besides, it's not like I am going to give you both free rein to do whatever you want. For the next 6 months, you will be under probation, the leader of your team reporting to me. It's all right, Hokage-sama, Fu chirped happily as she replaced the previous hideate on her right arm with the one given to her by the Hokage. Naruto-kun and Erojiji trust me, and I will do my utmost to prove that I am worthy of their trust. Tsunade smirked at the nickname her teammate had gotten while said teammate grumbled in the background about insufferable brats not respecting their seniors. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Akejinu gave the Hokage a formal bow, before she stood back up. But what rank are we supposed to be? As you both are from another village, the most I can do for the both of you before your probation ends is Chunin, Tsunade replied with a shrug. After the probation, if your team leader recommends, you can apply for the Jonin rank. I saw Fu, so I know that she is easily Chunin level. As for you, Akejinu-san, I can hypothesize that you are at least Chunin level, given the fact that you are training the brat. Chunin, yeah right, Jiraiya scoffed, getting the attention of everyone in the room. He decided to elaborate. I can easily say that just based on Kenjutsu, she can defeat a majority of the Jonin in the village, and that is without taking into account her other skills. The stunned silence that stretched across the room was eventually broken by Tsunade, who had a shit-eating grin on her face. I look forward to your time as a shinobi of Konoha, Akejinu-san. I just hope that my faith in you does not go misplaced. It won't, Hokage-sama, Akejinu responded with a placid smile as she too tied the hideate on the right arm of her kimono. Alright, Naruto clapped his hands, seizing everyone's attention once again. Now what about my promotion? Tsunade gazed at the blonde for several tense moments, before eventually turning towards Jiraiya. What do you think? Does he deserve it? Ignoring the shout of course I deserve it from the person discussed, Jiraiya placed his hand under his chin, in a pensive look. I think you should be the one to decide that, Haim. He raised his hand to stop her from interrupting. I know that I know more about his skills as compared to others, but I shouldn't be the only one to assess him. So how about this, let Kakashi battle him, and if both of you find him satisfactory, you could promote him as you see fit. This will not only let him reintegrate into the village, but also let Kakashi know firsthand about his skill level should you make him the team leader. Naruto gave Kakashi a challenging smile. You sure you want to go through this, Kakashi-sensei? I am not the same brat you humiliated those years ago. By the way, I need to get back at you for that. You know that, don't you? Kakashi gave Naruto a nice smile, before turning back to his precious Ika. Of course, Naruto. I am excited to see how much my little genin has grown up. I am a chunin to bail. Naruto shouted before clamping his hands over his mouth. Damn it. I thought I overcame it. Shizen moved towards Naruto and patted his head. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. It is a part of you. It wouldn't do for you to change too much. Yeah, I know, Nei-chan. But still, this tick is something I can do without. Naruto sighed before grinning. So, now that I have a few hours before my assessment, I think I'd like to get myself reacquainted with the food of the gods. Can't wait to meet Tsuchiya-san and Ayame-chan as well. Have to introduce them to Ikejinu-chan and Fu-chan as well. He then turned towards Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, if you come on time, I will give you something Erokyofu gave me a couple months ago. Seeing that he had the man's attention, he rummaged his clothes looking for something before a poof of smoke announced the unsealing of a sealing scroll. As the smoke vanished, Kakashi's visible eye widened to an extreme, his eyebrow vanishing into his hair as he looked at what was in Naruto's hand with utter veneration. For in his hands was something Kakashi knew wasn't going to be available for the next several months. It was a book, one that was nothing short of the gospel for the one-eyed shinobi. It had a green cover, with a faceless man crouched in a thinking position, with several shapes drawn alongside it haphazardly. Kakashi moved towards the Ika tactics, but just before he could reach the prized book it vanished in a poof of smoke, eliciting a loud HEY from the cyclopic jonin. Naruto shook his head. Remember what I said, Kakashi-sensei, be on time and you will be getting this. He could feel the desperation seeping from his sensei and decided to egg him further. He turned towards the window with a mischievous smirk directed towards Tsunade, an action that gained a tick on her face as she knew what he was about to do. Slightly tilting his head towards Kakashi, he spoke, and just so you know, sensei, this book is the first edition with all the chapters, many of which won't be in the subsequent books. Kakashi lunged, all thoughts about affability lost as he heard the last tidbit, wanting to get hold of the precious book. Just before he reached the blonde, he got an eye smile from his student before he jumped from the window and vanished into the streets below, leaving behind a sniveling Kakashi. Jiraiya, not giving attention to the fact that one of the most powerful jonin in the village was currently skulking in the corner with a rain shadow over his head, turned towards Tsunade with a lecherous grin on his face. So Haim, he began, I really miss you these years. Would you be a sport and give your teammate a hug for old time's sake? Though I would love if we both were wearing nothing for that duration, wouldn't Dash? He hadn't even finished speaking before a kick to the jaws sent him through the office walls, spiraling through the sky, most likely to land somewhere in a twitching heap and then miraculously heal within a few minutes. Shizen simply shook her head, knowing that the lecherous Gama-senin wouldn't let something like this stop him. She turned around, only to find Tsunade in the room, going through a bottle of sake, and heard her master mumbling, damn lecher, teaching the brat his ways. Now I'll have two idiots using the window as a damn door. Tsunade-sama, where did Fu-san and Ikejinu-san go? Weren't they in the room a few moments ago? Broken from her cursing, Tsunade straightened. They went just as the brat escaped. I swear to Kami, him and his lecherous teacher are one day going to be the death of me. I just can't wait till I have to hang up this hat and go back to my binge drinking. Kami, do I regret taking this job? Shizen, having heard this declaration countless times, simply rolled her eyes. You know, Tsunade-sama, now that Naruto-kun is back in the village, you only have to wait a few more years and then pass the hat on to him. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to replace you, don't you think so? Tsunade stopped her cursing, the words of Shizen going through her mind. He's back, she thought. Only a few more years and then the brat will be ready to take the place, most probably. I will be free from the wretched paperwork. Free. Free. The last part was spoken with a maniacal smile on her face, one that caused Shizen to leave the room, wishing for her mentor's sanity. A few blocks away from the tower, Naruto shivered with some trepidation. Although there was some excitement in it as well, something that confused him greatly. Having decided to walk to Ichiraku's, he smiled when he sensed two people join his side. He smiled further when he saw that most of the ninjas were treating him nicely, with most of them giving him waves as he passed by them. Most of the civilians, on the other hand, glared at him. Well, most of the female population were doing that. The males, on the other hand, were not too subtly ogling Ikejinu, and he could literally feel the curses they were spewing at him for traveling beside her. He could see that they wanted to come talk to her, but the Kodachi and her posture making them think twice. Although, this didn't bother him anymore, knowing that he had his precious people. Besides, the ninjas acknowledged him and treated him with respect, something which had begun ever since he had defeated not only Niji during the Chunin exams 3 years ago, but also protected the village from Gaara during the Otosuna invasion. He finally reached the one place he had missed the most during his training trip. It was a small shop with flaps on which Ichiraku Ramen was written in bold, red colors. A huge smile came on his face as he removed the flaps and entered the institution, the pleasant aroma wafting his nose. Hello? Welcome to Ichi, a pleasant female voice began, only to become shocked still as she turned to face the newest customer. And Naruto? She asked, her eyes wide open with shock. Good to see you didn't forget me, I am Chan. Naruto spoke well-naturedly, only to give a small OFF as said person barreled into him, hugging him for all his worth. You baka, she nearly shouted, once she had detached herself from the blonde and stood straight, arms on her hips and a stern look on her face. How dare you not inform us where you were all this time? Toussaint and I were worried sick about you. Hokage-sama wouldn't even tell us where you were all this time. Just that your training trip was confidential. Naruto scratched the back of his neck nervously at the small yet imposing figure. He took that as an opportunity to look over the young woman. She was average height, standing at 5 feet 2 inches, with a gracefully slim body. She had dark brown hair that framed her heart-shaped face, with large black eyes plus fair skin. She wore a white chef robes with folded sleeves, a dark blue apron with ribbons tied at the top and a bright white bandana. He began, seeing he wasn't getting any ramen without an explanation. I am Chan, the thing is, Ero-sennin wanted to keep the entire trip as secretive as possible. So we decided not to tell anyone about our whereabouts. Not even Bachan knows where we were all this time. Was all this caution necessary? Yes. Yes it was, I am Chan. Naruto replied in a serious expression, one that caught I am offhand, having never seen the hyperactive blonde this serious before. All right. She sighed before a smile made way onto her face. Now how have you been? How did you like traveling? By the way, it seems traveling has suited you. You look quite nice, handsome I must say. It was then that her attention shifted to the two females standing behind him, the black-haired giving smile that exuded grace, while the mint-haired girl gave a jovial smile. And who are these two? She covered her mouth with her hands, faux surprise marring her face. Don't tell me you went and got yourself a harem, Naruto-kun. I come with 2 girls by my side, Naruto began with a twitching eyebrow, and the first thing you think is that I got myself a harem? What do you think me to be? And a harem? Really? What can you say? I like romantic stories like that. She shrugged before moving towards the duo, leaving a gaping blonde behind. Ohio, welcome to Ichiraku's. I am Ichiraku, I am. Nice to meet you, I am Akejinu. The black-haired Kunoichi replied regally. And I am Fu. The former Taki Kunoichi chirped. We both joined Naruto-kun in his travels and have been with him and Jiraiya-sama for a while. For a while? I am smiled, before that smile turned mischievous. What did a handsome young man like you did with these young women, Naruto-kun? Don't make me blush, Nei-shan. Naruto commented offhandedly. I am the same. Just had my growth spurt, got to love teenage hormones for that, and trained like hell the entire time. Besides, if I even tried anything with Akejinu-chan or Fu-chan here, both of them would have my balls. And you should know that any time that I have been with someone, it was only with their consent. Anyways, I love traveling and now I know why Ero-sennin travels so much. Just could have done without all the peeping that he did. He seriously needs to find another source for his inspiration, by the way. Whenever he is in town, could not go to the hot springs. Don't want to kill the man for accidentally peeping on you. Ayam was caught flat-footed at the casual way Naruto spoke about everything. She knew, had she said the same a couple years ago, the young boy would blush and stammer like no tomorrow, or shout on top of his lungs about how he would only be with his Sakura-chan. She also noticed how he talked about being with someone, as though he had already partaken in the act. Naruto, seeing the gobsmacked look on Ayam's face, smirked. He really was enjoying screwing up with people. Perhaps even little too much. What happened, Ayam-chan? You seem surprised. He spoke mirthfully as his companions and he took a seat in the ramen stand, but not before he created a sealless Kage Bunshin, who went away from the stand, nitpicking all the way. It had elicited a couple of raised eyebrows from the women, in reply to which he simply gave a mischievous smile. Understanding that she had been pranked by her surrogate brother, Ayam huffed, and with hands placed on her hips made an irate face. Naruto, you do remember the cost of pranking me or Ota-san, don't you? Seeing the suddenly paling face, she smirked viciously like a predator seeing its prey. Maybe I should tell him that your ramen privileges have been suspended for the next 2 months. That should be inappropriate, I guess. She didn't have time to think anything further as the blonde shinobi was almost groveling at her feet, crying out repeatedly about not separating him from his ramen, and how he would never even think about teasing his Ayam-chan, much to the amusement of the 3 women present in the stand. He finally retreated to his seat after being repeatedly reassured that no, his ramen privileges weren't being suspended and that he could come there whenever he wanted. Ayam soon stepped back into the kitchen and prepared the order for Naruto and his guests. For the 30 or so minutes were a frantic hustle for Ayam as she prepared bowl after bowl for the never-ending stomachs that were Naruto and Fu. Akejinu had ordered a single bowl of miso ramen, which she was eating almost imperially, while her companions seemed to be competing over who could eat the most bowls in one sitting, although they did so with etiquettes that she had never seen in the blonde before. Naruto soon finished his requisite quota of ramen, a total of 35 bowls, with food trailing behind at a still hefty 25 bowls. I smiled at the familiar scene as the blonde patted his still flat stomach, something she wished she could do after eating as much food as he had done. The entire time the eating fest was going on, I used it to get the information from the blonde about his travels and how the two ladies had met the ninja and his teacher. She was shocked when she heard how Naruto had saved Ikejinu and later on how they had saved Fu, although she did refrain from going into depth regarding Fus or her original villages. And while I knew that she was not saying everything, she knew that the kunoichi had their secrets, and it wasn't her business to pry into them. The trio eventually finished their meal and left the stand, leaving behind a gaping Ayam who was holding a huge bundle of cash in her hands, the amount being close to 100 times the highest tip she had ever gotten. Outside, Naruto smiled before quickly applying a henge. When asked by his companions, he replied that he wanted to keep the news of his arrival a secret, not wanting the news of his evaluation with Kakashi to become a spectacle. Seeing that he had a while before his evaluation, he decided to act as a tour guide to the two kunoichi by his side and gave them a tour of the village. He showed them various places like the Chunin exam stadium that had been repaired after the failed Otosand invasion, the parameter of the Forest of Death. He did not like the smile that had formed on Ikejinu's face when he had told her about the environment. He soon arrived at Training Ground 3, 15 minutes before the required time, the 3 training posts and the Konoha Memorial Stone, bringing back the memories of the first test given to Team 7 by Kakashi and how he was the one to be tied up to that ruddy pole. As he looked at the poles, the very first lesson taught to him by Kakashi came unbidden into his mind. In the ninja world, those who break the rules are trash, that's true, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Any further introspection was prevented as he sensed people entering the clearing. Immediately, he and his companions hid themselves in the trees nearby and suppressed their chakra, waiting to see who had arrived. He did not have to wait for long as 4 people entered the clearing. The first to enter was Tsunade herself, followed by Jiraiya, who was nursing a swollen head, most likely having received it from the aforementioned Hokage herself. Behind them was an exasperated Shizen, holding her pet pig Tonton. The last person to enter the clearing was another person who Naruto easily recognized. It was a girl garbed in a sleeveless, half-chipao top with black gloves, black, low, heel, calf, high boots, black shorts underneath a short pink apron skirt, and pink elbow protectors. To finish off the ensemble, she had her hide tied on her head, as a hairband, on a red cloth. Naruto smiled as he recognized the remaining member of his team, Sakura Haruno. Meanwhile, said girl had a confused look on her face. Shursho, what are we doing in the training ground? And seeing that Jiraiya-sama is here, shouldn't it mean that Naruto must be here as well? Tsunade turned to reply, only to stop and turn back around. Sakura frowned and was about to ask once again, when another voice, this time from behind her, spoke, "Wow, Sakura, look at you. You look extremely good." Sakura jumped, startled at the sound, and turned around only to be surprised at recognizing the person. Her mouth opened, but no words came out of it. "Is that Naruto? How did he come behind me without even me noticing?" "You know, Sakura, if you had been an enemy, you would be dead by now. You really need to take better care of your surroundings." He spoke cheekily. Sakura, seeing red at the comment, was about to clock back her arm before she was interrupted by the Hokage. "Sakura, enough." Tsunade spoke firmly. "We are not here for wasting time." She turned towards Naruto. "Brat, you ready for the test?" "I was ready the moment I entered the tower, Bachan." He smirked, before dodging another punch. "Don't hit me before an evaluation, Bachan. I need to be in top form." "Cheeky brat," Tsunade muttered. "Sakura, Naruto here is going to be evaluated to become a Tokubetsu Jonin. I'm sorry, brat, but that is the most a Hokage can do without the recommendation of a higher-ranked shinobi. And no, Jiraiya doesn't count," she said, knowing that the brat would most certainly whine about it. The further discussion was interrupted as the Konoha Shunshin declared the arrival of Kakashi, the determined eyes betraying the bored expression he tried to display, with the orange Ika in his hands. Sighing, he gave everyone his trademark eye smile and a wave. "Yo!" He spoke in a bored manner. It seems everyone was on time at least. That's the pot calling the kettle black. Everyone snorted mentally. Naruto decided to speak. "Now, good to see you were on time, Kakashi-sensei. I wouldn't want to burn a book, you know. Anyways, since you are on time, you can have it." He took out a familiar green-covered book and extended it towards Kakashi, who seemed almost ready to pounce at it. However, Naruto retracted it and threw it towards Jiraiya. Seeing the dismayed look on his sensei's face, he explained, "You can have the book after the evaluation, sensei. Don't want your attention diverted to the book during it. Anyhow, I don't think you'd have been able to read a page of it. You wouldn't want it to be damaged during the spar, do you?" Kakashi almost seemed to have lost his composure and ready to attack the blonde for keeping him away from his precious book. However, the last line caught his attention, and he smiled at the boy's confidence. Naruto," he began, "are you sure you want to say that? Isn't that what you said the first time we had a spar?" The blonde's smirk suddenly seemed too vindictive to the jonin. "I still have to pay you back for that technique, don't I, Kaka-sensei? I just need to warn you that you should take the spar seriously. Wouldn't want the jonin lounge filled with the gossip that you lost to your student because you were not serious, would you?" Kakashi sighed and shut his book before placing the book in his side pocket. The bored look on his face was still there, however one could see the curiosity in his eye. He turned towards the rest of the group and gave a small nod. Receiving the message that he was ready, everyone jumped and disappeared into the trees, waiting for the spar to begin. Naruto watched them go. Arrow Sennin should really take them somewhat further away. Taking a deep breath to calm himself, he turned towards Kakashi with a determined and confident gaze and spoke in a serious tone, "You will have to use your Sharingan sensei if you wish to win this spar." The look on his face and the serious tone caused Kakashi to go wide-eyed, as a silhouette of a similar-looking shinobi, in a white haori with red flames at its bottom, formed behind Naruto. Kakashi took a deep breath, before his face hardened into a determined look, one that surprised everyone hidden in the trees, having not seen that look for a while. He remembered the look on Minato-sensei's face. The usually jovial and happy face would turn hard as stone, and it meant nothing but absolute misery whenever he did so. In the clearing, Kakashi lifted his headband, the three-tomoed Sharingan visible for everyone to see. Naruto smiled, the anticipation of a good battle waking a certain figure within his mind. Taking a well-practiced stance, he took another deep breath and smiled at Kakashi. "You ready to dance, sensei?" Chapter 2. Skills, Fight and Explanation. "Ready to dance, sensei?" Naruto stood in a reactive stance, ready for Kakashi to begin the proceedings. However, he knew that a ninja with his experience would never do that. The fact that he had the Sharingan as well meant he would most rather counter him. The determined look and the traditional Uchiha stance confirming his hypothesis. Naruto sighed, "You know, sensei, if you don't come at me, I'll come at you, and trust me, that is the last thing that you want." The expression on Kakashi's face didn't change. "I'd take my chances, Naruto. Now if your proclamation is over, I think it's time we begin. What do you say?" Naruto chuckled, "All right, sensei. But don't complain that I didn't warn you." He had barely spoken the words when he vanished. There was no afterimage, no clouds of dust were formed, nor were any spiderweb cracks formed on the ground. One moment he was there, and the next he was gone. Kakashi's eyes widened at the speed. Only the instincts gained from regular spars with Guy and the precognitive ability from the Sharingan made him bring up his left hand to block a punch. He immediately wished he hadn't done so, the power behind the punch making him wince as he was reminded of the guy's punches. Fuck. How the hell is he so fast? He seems as fast as Guy. And how are his punches so powerful? He had no time to ponder about his student's growth, as Naruto decided to continue in on his assault. Naruto transitioned from one attack to another, the blonde shinobi not giving him any quarter. Kakashi dodged, not wanting to see if the blonde's strength was just a fluke. He parried a punch, dodged a kick and jumped several steps back to avoid a punch that made a small crater where he was standing. He had to immediately bring up his hands to block a kick aimed at his face, the strength of the kick making him wince while he was sent skidding back a few paces. Naruto crouched, exhibiting that he was about to jump high, only to change course mid-leap. He tumbled forward and rolled, getting inside Kakashi's guard and without giving him a second chance nailed him with a double punch to his chest and stomach. Kakashi crouched over, the force of the punch making him spittle. Naruto, seeing an open guard, kicked him in the head, sending him crashing into the trees. Hidden in the trees, Tsunade, Shizen and Sakura were slack-jawed at the display by the blonde. Jiraiya smirked and puffed up his chest. "Why are you looking at Naruto-kun like that?" Akejinu's voice came from behind them, taking them by surprise. "Did you not expect him to be as strong as he is?" Sakura turned around, mentally berating herself for letting someone get the drop on her, in order to talk to the person who had spoken, only to stop short when she saw two unknown kunoichi wearing the Konoha Hideate. She was about to break the silence, and asked who they were, and what they were doing there when the silence was broken by Tsunade herself. The bodacious Kage nodded, her eyes still transfixed on the scene in front of her. "Truth be told, yes," she confessed unabashed. "You didn't see the kid before Akejinus, and the Naruto we remembered had a lot of conviction, true. But this kind of ability." She was still having difficulty in believing the kid she had last seen throwing wild punches could fight so systematically, and with so much grace, flowing from one move to another, in a manner that would make a kunoichi jealous. And the last move, it truly was something so unpredictable. It was done almost as if to counter the effect of the Sharingan. "Caught that, didn't you, Bachan?" A familiar voice spoke, making everyone turn around, to be further surprised when an identical blonde figure crouched beside them. Seeing the questioning look on Tsunade, Shizen and Sakura's face, he spoke, "I am a clone. Boss created me before the match even began in order to observe whatever mistakes he does. There are a few more scattered throughout the ground to check the spar from every direction." While the others were marveling at this small but very useful insight, the clone continued, "As I was saying, while training Arrow Sennin pointed out that I had to eventually fight a Sharingan user. And the only way to fight a Sharingan user is either to be faster than one or simply do something unexpected. And this is where his initial fighting style, or lack of I should say, came in use." Jiraiya chimed in, while puffing up his chest, "He is fast, as you all have seen. But the fact remains, a person experienced with the Sharingan, like Kakashi or Itachi, can properly counter him. So, in order to fight an Uchiha, or in this case a Sharingan bearer like Kakashi, the only thing he can do is be unpredictable. And that is something the brat can do very easily. Therefore, rather than helping Kakashi, the Sharingan instead acted as a crutch." Shizen, astonished as she was, spoke, "But Jiraiya-sama, how come Naruto-kun was able to punch so hard? There was no chakra in his punches, was there?" No, there wasn't." Tsunade spoke, her calm demeanor betrayed by the astonishment in her voice. "It was raw strength. I don't know how that can happen though. The only person I know who can hit like that without chakra is Guy." Jiraiya interrupted once again, catching everyone's attention, and most probably his student. "Though I think his mini-me has to train a few more years to reach his level." Sakura was flabbergasted. She had seen Rock Lee and Guy train, and treated them frequently for extremely bad case of muscle tears. How has Naruto reached Guy-sensei's level when he has trained even less than Lee? The same thoughts were running rampant through the remaining people's mind. Jiraiya, seeing their confused looks, turned towards Tsunade and mentally voiced the question, "She knows about the brat?" Tsunade, having understood, gave an almost imperceptible shake of her head, their experience making it possible for them to speak without the use of words. "Naruto has sort of a bloodline," he began, struggling to put it in words. "He has an advanced healing factor that makes small things like muscles tears heal with a good night's rest. Now think an ability like that combined with the hell of training that guy does. The result is before your very eyes." He turned once again towards the clearing, his focus once again on the fight, "And before you ask how Naruto can have a sort of bloodline, know that the answer to that question is an S-rank secret that I cannot divulge without the express permission of Naruto and Tsuhime." This stopped Sakura from any further questions as she too turned her attention towards the field, where Kakashi still had to return to the clearing. Back in the clearing, Naruto stood alert, knowing that a ninja like Kakashi was not going to go down with just a single punch. His assumption was proven true when the next moment he blocked an overhead kick from said shinobi. From there, the fight recommenced, with Kakashi on the offensive. However, no matter what he tried, Naruto seemed one step ahead of him. He blocked each kick, dodged each punch and parried those he couldn't dodge. He's fast, Naruto thought, although Erokyofu is faster. It's clear he's still holding back. They broke off, both of them taking a few deep breaths and taking a moment to further steady their heartbeat from the quick yet exhilarating taijutsu spar. "Yo, Kakashi-sensei," Naruto spoke, his opponent's attention fixed on him. "What do you say we kick it up a notch?" Seeing he had his sensei's undivided attention, he elaborated. "What about a full-out spar, with every discipline you know?" Kakashi seemed surprised at this request. He knew he was holding back, and the way Naruto was fighting, he could tell he was doing the same. A full-out spar meant giving his everything. Usually, he wouldn't acquiesce to such requests, but the confidence Naruto was exuding along with the fact that he wanted to see Naruto's strength as well was making him reconsider. Contemplating for a few moments, he gave the blonde an eye smile. "You got it, Naruto. But remember, you were the one who asked for it. You worry about yourself, sensei." Naruto replied, a cocky smirk on his face as he made a familiar hand sign, creating a round 4 kage bunshin. "Ready for round 2 then?" Without waiting for a reply, the clones quickly surrounded the Jonin and attacked in unison. Kakashi would have reminisced about the first time his cute genin had used the same tactic, if only he didn't have to concentrate on the small gang of clones with the boy himself mixed in. The hodgepodge of a premeditated taijutsu assault was highly coordinated, at least he gave that. While the clones were good, any Chunin, heck he knew many Jonin would have been unable to manage against the kid. Unfortunately for Naruto's plan, Kakashi was fast enough, and with the Sharingan, aware enough to dodge every attack sent his way. He sidestepped an axe kick, dodged the jab of another before bouncing back from a kick from above. Instincts, gained from years of experience, made him take another leap as the final Naruto, most probably the original, punched the ground where he was standing not a moment ago. The result was something he hadn't expected from the blonde ever. He knew the boy had raw power. But he cursed as the ground was torn asunder, the single punch creating a massive spiderweb, followed by the destruction of the ground within a 15 feet radius. As he was crouched in the trees, shocked at seeing the power, Naruto spoke, "TCH, still waste a lot of chakra in that technique." "Naruto," Kakashi began tentatively, still perched upon the tree observing the carnage. "What technique are you talking about?" He knew the answer to that. After all, his other cute genin had learned the same technique. He just wanted to hear those dreaded words from the horse's mouth. Naruto took a look at the destruction, his attention never wavering from Kakashi. "Oh, you know the answer to that, sensei." He gave Kakashi a knowing grin. "Anyways, took me a hell lot of a time to learn." "My super strength." A dazed Tsunade spoke, while Shizen and Sakura had a flabbergasted expressions on their faces. Jiraiya grinned seeing their expression. Though he pitied Kakashi if he got hit by one of those. He could still feel the phantom pain from the last time the brat hit him. "He learned my super strength." Tsunade spoke, still in her daze. She turned towards Jiraiya. "How did he learn my super strength?" "He had the worst chakra control I had ever seen. And I have seen many people with bad control, you included." Jiraiya put on a mock-hurt expression, while placing a hand on his chest. "You wound me, Haim. And here I thought you loved me so much. How could you be so heartless?" "Jiraiya," Tsunade spoke with tight lips, her eyebrows twitching violently. "Tell me how the brat learned to use that with his shoddy control." "Meh," Jiraiya shrugged her off. "You are speaking as though something like that is ever going to stop that kid. You do remember that he learned Rasengan with that level of control? And he has had me, the gallant Jiraiya, as his teacher. Of course he would learn something as awesome and badass as his Bachan's super strength, his words not mine." "But how can he use the technique?" Sakura nearly shouted. "I needed so many months of practice, growing my chakra levels and even then releasing that much chakra at once from one specific tenketsu? Naruto never had that much chakra control." Jiraiya sighed, his face exuberating happiness and pride. "The answer to that question will have to wait till the end of the spar, I'm afraid. Now, let me bask in my awesomeness at creating another powerhouse shinobi." Sakura was about to shout at the self-proclaimed super pervert, when another shout caught her attention. "Tsutenkyaku," Naruto shouted high in the air, his right leg extended forward, ready to descend mercilessly on the ground. The next moment, another crater was formed as the entire clearing shook from the shockwave, forcing the people hidden in the trees to apply chakra lest they should fall. Kakashi, knowing that blocking the kick was tantamount to suicide, simply dodged. He was surprised when Naruto pulled out 5 shuriken and launched them at the Jonin, immediately followed by a few hand seals. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The 5 immediately transformed into 50, the hailstorm of shuriken descending upon Kakashi, who took out his own kunai, deflecting those that came too close while dodging the rest. He once again jumped back, dodging a jumping kick from the blonde, and went through a large number of hand seals at an almost inhuman pace. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Immediately, an enormous volume of water rose from the nearby lake, which quickly morphed into the shape of a streamlined dragon, one which Naruto realized was far larger than the one Kakashi had used in his battle with Zabuza. Its eyes flashed yellow. Before opening its maw, it rushed towards the blonde shinobi. Naruto quickly went through his own hand seals. Doton, Dorihiki. A huge wall, at least 25 feet tall, rose from the ground. Although Kakashi was surprised to see the wall, he was more surprised at the large fox-shaped figurehead, reminiscent of the Kyubi no Kitsune, with its maw wide open. The water dragon collided with the figurehead, the two battling for domination. The dragon had barely dissipated when Naruto jumped from behind the wall, ready to continue with his attack, only to stop short, unable to find his sensei. He jumped down, his senses on high alert, searching for any sign of his sensei, before Kyubi shouted out loud, "Beneath you, brat!" Without even a second's hesitation, he jumped and was surprised to find a pair of arms sticking out from underneath from where he was standing, all the while cursing himself for not checking underground. Suetun Miserapa. Naruto cursed once again, as a powerful shot of water collided with his back, the force of the shot enough to push him several yards. He righted himself just before he could collide with the lake. He once again took a stance, ready for any further attack, his senses once again on high alert. "Decided to fight like a true shinobi, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto asked out loud, wanting Kakashi to give away his position. Kakashi seemed to know what was going through his mind, as a voice rang out throughout the clearing, "Ma, Naruto. Do you seriously think that trick is going to work? You are not the first person to do that, you know. Just because you have seen me fight a person head-on doesn't mean I don't know how to fight from the shadows. We ninjas thrive in the shadows. It's in the shadows that our true abilities come out." "You know, sensei," Naruto began, before he turned towards the trees and taking out a handful shuriken, created a clone. Throwing the shuriken, he immediately went through a few hand seals while his clone went through another set. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Raitun Kaminari Shuriken. As soon as the attacks were called out, the handful shuriken turned into several dozen and soared above the canopy. Kakashi didn't have time to properly react at his location being discovered as the shuriken stopped midair, only to rain down hundreds of bolts of electricity. Using a hasty kawarini, Kakashi switched places with a log. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Only for the water dragon to engulf him, the force of nature carrying him and colliding with the previously created mud wall, the force of the current attack enough to destroy the structure. The wave eventually stopped, the thoroughly soaked body of Kakashi lying in the ground. Naruto cautiously approached the body, intent at making his sensei forfeit the match. He had barely reached when the body turned into electricity, the electricity coursing through the water present on the ground and hitting the blonde, making him yelp as several volts of electricity coursed through his body. He barely dodged when a blade passed the place where his head was situated, a white streak traveling with the blade as it swung. He quickly turned around, only to be shocked at the scene before him. Standing in front of him was Kakashi, but the thing that shocked him was the weapon that he held in his right hand. It was a straight-bladed tanto with a small, circular handguard. He recognized the blade. He knew that quite a few would recognize it. After all, the blade once belonged to a person who had been praised by his father, and was said to be on par with the legendary Sannin. It was the white light chakra saber, blade of Hatake Tsukumo, renowned throughout the nations as the White Fang of Konoha. Hidden in the trees, Jiraiya turned towards Tsunade. When did he restart using the saber? And wasn't it broken? Tsunade chuckled. He got it repaired in a mission to Tetsu no Kuni. Told us he wanted to carry on his father's legacy. Well, the clone by their side spoke up. In that case, you guys will like what boss has in store for this round. Tsunade, surprised at the confidence at the clone's voice, gave him a questioning glare. The clone didn't budge an inch, nor did his two companions show any kind of emotions as to what the clone was hiding, and smiled in reply, further aggravating the busted kage. He whistled innocently, before focusing on a tree towards his left. I know you cannot wait to see Kakashi-sensei use his saber, Nico-chan. But you seriously need to project it less, you know. I can feel you all the way from here and I'm just a clone. Nothing happened, but he could feel embarrassed blush on the leader of Rohan, the elite ANBU team and Hokage's personal guard. He turned towards Tsunade. Or Bachan, he called out, much to the ire of the Hokage, you think Nico-chan can join us for this? I know she is going to have a few questions through this part. And I'd like to see the person that I'm talking to rather than feel like talking to a tree like an idiot. You are already an idiot, Tsunade called out loud, not paying any attention to the look of indignation on the clone's face. She then turned towards the trees. Nico, permission granted to show yourself and talk freely. Not a moment later, a figure landed beside the group, crouched with her head bowed down. At ease. Tsunade called out, the ANBU immediately standing up, the standard uniform doing nothing to hide her voluptuous figure while her long, purple hair cascaded down to her back. Arigato, Hokage-sama. The woman spoke, before turning towards the clone. Clone-sen, the way you are saying as though Uzumaki-san is going to fight against Kakashi-senpai in Kenjutsu. The clone winced. Please, Nico-chan, no need to use any honorific with me. The same goes for boss as well. You can simply call me Naruto. He smiled before his tone turned mischievous. Or it would be better if you called us Naruto-kun. And Bachan, please don't pummel me, I'm trying to observe any mistakes boss makes. He once again turned towards the ANBU, and you're correct in your assumption, Nico-chan. However, I think you'll be more interested in the sword that he uses. So the brat is going to use it? Jiraiya interjected. Yup. The clone replied, a huge grin on his face. Most of the people gave a perplexed look due to the cryptic nature of the small exchange. Although, Tsunade did notice the small sigh that escaped Takejina's mouth. Back at the clearing. Damn, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto whistled, didn't know you still used the saber. Kakashi arched an eyebrow, before giving his usual eye smile. You recognize the blade, Naruto? Naruto scoffed. Yeah, Ero-sennin made me study a lot of famous ninjas and their weapons. And I must say I must have been an idiot for not studying the famous ninjas of Konoha at least. And one who studies about Konoha cannot not know about the White Fang. Nevertheless, I think you'll like what I have in store for Kenjutsu users. He channeled some chakra into a minuscule storage seal in his pants, and a poof of smoke signified the unsealing of something, the smoke hiding the weapon from everyone's view. The most Kakashi could tell was that it was a large weapon. The smoke soon vanished, the entire clearing silent as every person recognized the sword. It was a massive broadsword shaped like a giant butcher knife. The blade itself has two cutouts, a circle close to the top and a semi-circular one nearer the handle. The Kubikuribocho, a sword Kakashi was highly intimate with, having fought the previous owner of said sword, Zabuza Momochi, 3 years ago. His attention shifted to Naruto, the blonde grinning as though having won the lottery. Naruto, please tell me you didn't rob Zabuza's grave just to get his sword. Naruto became serious as soon as he heard the words. Kakashi, do you think I'd do something as vile as that, even after what Zabuza did and the lesson that Haku taught me? I had gone to visit the gravesite while passing through Nami along with Ero-sennin. When I went there I found that sword was stolen. We later found out it was stolen by someone named Tenzin Daikoku. We hunted him down and took the sword back. I wanted to take it back but Ero-sennin advised against that. We had already seen that the sword could be stolen, and he told me that no matter what seals I used, there was a high chance that the seals could be broken. So he told me to hold onto it until I get the chance to go to Kiri and give it back to the Mizukage. Kakashi's tense shoulders relaxed hearing this. He did not want to think of his student as a grave robber, someone that was thought of worst of scum. He smiled once again. Good to hear that, Naruto. Now if you are done showing off your huge sword, what do you say? Should we start round 3? Naruto chuckled. Sensei, what made you think round 2 was over? A ninja uses whatever tools he can while fighting. When I fight, I'm not going to fight individual rounds based on each discipline. His smile grew larger. Now let's begin. Kakashi blurred from Naruto's vision, Naruto's sharp reflexes making him bring his sword forward, as white chakra streaked, Kubikarabocho and Saber clashing against one another. Kakashi, knowing that he could not afford a battle of attrition with his student, jumped backwards, ready for any attack by Naruto. He moved the sword quite fast, and that too without any extra force. It seems he's used to fighting with the sword. He did not have time to think any further as Naruto once again came at him, the giant sword slashing at him, his speed increasing constantly. Each swing was methodical, no energy wasted as each swing of the sword transitioned into the next. White chakra streaked throughout the clearing as Kakashi used his experience to fight the Chunin who had an advantage of strength and speed on him. And the sword, after all, who could forget the giant-ass sword? The spar continued between them, Naruto using the size and momentum gained from swinging Kubikarabocho to score a hit, while Kakashi used the agility and short size of his sword to enter Naruto's guard and strike him. Kakashi backed up against a tree and Naruto took another swing, wanting to finish the fight. At the last moment, Kakashi vanished in a puff of smoke, a log taking his place. Mid-swing, Naruto realized his mistake. Behind Kakashi was a large tree, one among the countless trees grown within Hai no Kuni by the Shodaime Hokage. He knew that despite its size and the momentum, the sword would not be able to cleave the tree and was bound to get stuck. Kakashi had tricked him. So, he did the only thing he could. He channeled wind chakra through the blade, the newfound power enough for the sword to slice the entire tree. Canceling the wind chakra, he quickly turned around and swung the sword, just in time to clash with Kakashi's saber. He took one hand off the sword, his strength still sufficient for him to keep Kakashi on a stalemate, and quickly went through a dozen single-handed seals. Kakashi, having decided to not be surprised any further, decided to take no chance and jumped back, just as Naruto called out. Sensatsu Susho. Kakashi gave a sigh of relief, as Saban needles made of water descended the place where he was standing not a moment ago, Naruto having jumped back as well. He turned towards Naruto, only to balk as Naruto stood, in an all-too-familiar pose, his right hand in a half-ram seal, while his left hand extended above his head. Ninpo, Kirigakyu no Jutsu. Up in the trees, everyone was stunned into silence. Silence that was eventually broken by Nico. Sorry if I sound too much like Enko Hokage-sama, but me want him. Jiraiya started bawling, shouting incoherently about how it was unfair that his student was going to win over the beautiful ANBU, and how he was proud to have the brat as his student. Tsunade was scowling at the pervert, while simultaneously was proud that the brat had progressed so much. Shizen and Sakura were simply astonished at the growth rate that the blonde was showing. Kakashi sighed. Of course he has to know the one technique that can take advantage of my Sharingan. Now if he only knows the silent killing and the entire package will be complete. It seemed as though fate was out for the Jonin, as a voice rang through the already dense mist. 8 points, heart, larynx, pharynx. Ah, fuck it, Zabuza was way better at this kind of stuff. Kakashi-sensei, you know that you are fucked right now. In order to dissipate this mist, you will have to use a wind jutsu while overpowering my chakra present in the mist. And we both know that is virtually impossible due to the potency of my chakra. Even if you try to use a genjutsu, you must know that my defense mechanism overcomes almost everything. Now, do you want to forfeit? Whatever happens, you must know that the spar will end with my next move. My Naruto, don't you seem too confident in your abilities? Kakashi asked, and Naruto could almost feel the eye smile on his face. You know that even though I'd rather read the Ika, Tsunade-sama will flay me alive if I forfeit. And it doesn't matter that you have learned her super strength, she still hits way harder than you do. Besides, how do you intend to finish the spar in the next move? A few moments of silence passed before Naruto sighed. As you wish. A poof of smoke was heard throughout the clearing, making Kakashi tense in anticipation. It was quickly followed by another pair of poofs. Not a second later Kakashi felt several blades poking and resting on various parts of the body, all of them lethal. The mist slowly dissipated, revealing 6 Narutos, each of them holding a kodachi, The blade seemed to be made of the blackest obsidian, all the while maintaining an unnatural kind of shine to it. How? Kakashi was astounded. I didn't even feel him approach. How did he sneak up on me? Even Zabuza wasn't this good with the silent killing. The Naruto holding the blade to his jugular chuckled, I'm not that good with the silent killing, Kakashi-sensei. And no, I'm not reading your mind. Just your expression says it so. Now, will you please forfeit? I want to meet everyone else and I know you are dying to read the book. Kakashi chuckled, you truly have grown, Naruto. Defeating me in this spar. Naruto shrugged, we both know that you were holding back. And while I may have shown a few tricks, you have an arsenal full of them. Other than that, you didn't take me seriously despite your demeanor. Mind you, that still might not be sufficient. Kakashi, still smiling, was intrigued. And why is that, my cute little Chunin? Naruto's eye twitched, not a Chunin for long, sensei. If Bachan still doesn't promote me, I promise the last week of pranks will be nothing in comparison to what I'll unleash ahead. And I'm either cute, not little. I'm supposed to be ruggedly handsome or manly, not cute, Databeo. As for why I'm so sure about my victory, if I don't believe in myself, who else will? Besides, Ero-Sennin has trained me to fight S-rank shinobi, who are out there to kill me, most of them unknown. And I don't intend to just roll up and die. If they want to get Naruto Uzumaki, they will have to ready for the fight of their lives. Kakashi, hearing the proclamation, couldn't help but feel proud of his student. Here was a person who had 9 S-rank ninjas coming after him, and instead of being a coward and griping about the unfairness of life, he toughs it out and prepares for them. Alright, Naruto. Kakashi smiled, not at all embarrassed that he had just been defeated by a ninja 15 years his junior. I guess I'll have to forfeit the match. But don't think I'll let you go without an explanation. The growth in your skills have been beyond anyone's expectations. Isn't that right, Tsunade-sama? Naruto's face split into a large grin as he turned towards the people who had just entered the clearing. Hey everyone, did you guys enjoy the fight? And long time no see, Sakura, Nico-chan. Same to you too, Naruto. Sakura gave a terse reply, noticing the lack of usual chan that he used to call her. Nice to see you as well, Uzumaki-san. Nico replied in a professional tone. You just had to use that abomination, didn't you? Akejino asked, irritation marring her voice. Come on, Nico-chan. Naruto whined, you have known me since before I joined the academy. You called me Naruto then, why can't you call me that now? He turned his attention towards the black-haired kunoichi that was still glaring at him, and you know, Akejino-chan, that I use it more or less as an intimidating factor. People recognize the sword and the carnage that it has caused. Kakashi-sensei himself has fought the sword and knows how dangerous it can be. You saw how he became wary when I used the sword, didn't you? That doesn't change the fact that the sword is a slur in the name of Kenjutsu. Akejino remarked, her eyes narrowed in disgust. It is a tool, Akejino-chan, Naruto shrugged, and you yourself have said to do whatever it takes to secure a win. Besides, you know that I won't use it that often. He then turned his attention back towards the cat masked Anbu as though waiting for some kind of reply. I am sorry, Uzumaki-san, but in the presence of Hokage-sama I am to behave as professionally as possible. The masked Anbu replied stoically, after a few seconds of silence. Oh, you mean to say that you will call me Naruto when off duty? Naruto replied in a mischievous tone. What do you say about joining me for a lunch at Ichiraku's? And don't worry about paying, it will be on me. Although there was no visible effect of his words on the Anbu, Naruto could almost feel the raised eyebrows that she was directing towards him. He did not have any more time to think about it as he deflected the incoming hand, striking at the black elbow guarding, making the owner of said hand lose her balance, as he himself took a couple of steps back. Sakura, he sighed, you were there just now watching me fight Kakashi-sensei, and I still have enough in me for another fight. And if you think that I'll let you hit me, then I'm sorry to say that you are sadly mistaken. Sakura stood there, stunned for a moment, before she turned towards Naruto with a glare in her face. Should have known you turn into a pervert, you baka. Naruto narrowed his eyes. So the fact that I asked Nico-chan out on a date turns me into a pervert? Just because I'm a guy and I show an interest in someone, I'm a pervert? So tell me, Sakura, what should I do? Stalk a girl everywhere she goes and eventually make her so pissed at me that she either goes on a date or complains about me? Sakura lowered her head, thoroughly abashed. Naruto sighed, not wanting to upset his teammate. Sakura, if I ask someone on a date, it's my personal business. Besides, I have just asked for a date, it's not that I've asked her to sleep with me. Sakura gave the blonde a scandalized look, one which the boy ignored before once again turning towards the masked ninja, waiting for a reply. All the while Jiraiya was there, taking down notes at a frantic pace and mumbling about Gaki being gold and muse for the next decade. Tsunade rubbed her forehead, although inside she was somewhat happy that her pseudo-brother was over his obsession for her trigger-happy second apprentice. Not wanting the situation to escalate, she rubbed her forehead. Shut it down, brat. Stop asking my Anbu for a date. Right now we need to head back to my office to see about your promotion. Moreover, I need answers as to how you learned so much in so less a time. And no, she interrupted the blonde from speaking, you are not allowed to stop for a small lunch, or even a snack. And Cammy, help me, if you are not just behind me when I enter the office, any previous pain you have felt will feel like a love tap in comparison to the thrashing I would give you. With that she shined away, but not before muttering about goddamn brats giving her a goddamn headache. She was immediately followed by the masked ANBU who vanished without a trace. The rest of the people in the clearing quickly followed, not wanting to face the wrath of an irate Hokage. Everyone appeared within the Hokage's office, only to find said leader gulp down an entire bottle of sake. Jiraiya took his usual place, leaning on the wall near the desk, while Kakashi took his place on the windowsill. Naruto whistled, damn Bachan, you surely have a high alcohol tolerance. Tsunade scoffed, of course I do, brat. I am not a lightweight like your pervert of a teacher. She purposefully ignored the self-proclamation of Jiraiya calling himself a super pervert. Anyhow, we are not here to talk about my tolerance. First of all, congratulations on your promotion. You are now a Tokubetsu Jonin. Naruto, who had puffed up his chest hoping to get a Jonin rank, face faulted. What the hell, Bachan? Are you going senile with your old age? A paperweight barreled into his face, making him grunt as a few teeth fell out into his palms. He gave them to Shizen, who had a worried look on her face. Don't worry, Shizen-ichan, they'll grow back in a couple of hours. He refocused his attention on Tsunade. And why the hell am I not being promoted to Jonin, Bachan? I know I showed enough skill and strength out there. You are not being promoted to Jonin, brat, she began as slowly as though talking to a kid. A big, dumb kid? Because to make that jump from Chunin to Jonin, some things are required. What those things are I won't say, but just know that will come only after you have done several missions with your and a few other teams. And while the pervert says that you have been with the Kejino-san and Fu-san for a while, I don't know about them or their skills as a team as a Hokage. This is the highest rank that I can give you without showing any favoritism. Naruto grumbled, knowing that the only experience he had working as a team was with the Kejino and Fu, and that would not be accepted in Konoha. Especially given the fact that whatever missions he had done so far had needed negligible teamwork. Tsunade, seeing the now Tokubetsu Jonin sulk, could only shake her head in amusement. He truly was just a kid. She placed her hands on her desk and crossed her fingers. Brat, sulk after you complete the meeting. Now I think everyone here has some questions that need to be answered. Naruto sighed, before a confident grin came on his face. All right, I'll answer what I can. How did you manage to learn 3 elemental manipulation in 3 years? Usually it takes it a few years just to master one element, and you mastered 3. Kakashi, the ever-lazy Jonin, was the first to ask the question, much to the surprise of everyone present. Actually, Naruto began, I have only mastered 2 of them. Seeing that he had the complete attention of the room, he shrugged, wind and water. They were my primary affinities. I am currently training to master Earth, and I have already completed the first stage for its manipulation, and Erosenin has already told me how to completely master it. It may take a while, but I am confident that I can get it done. As for how I was able to do this in such a less amount of time, here the blonde gave an ear-splitting grin before continuing, I have 2 words for you, Kage. Bunshin. The simple statement caught everyone except Sakura off guard, who was simply looking at everyone, confusion marring her face. What does it mean, Naruto? Sakura asked, before turning to everyone else. Why do you all look like that? While I believe that Kage Bunshin is an excellent clone technique, what does it have to do with Naruto's growth? Girl, everyone is shell-shocked because there is one facet of Kage Bunshin that is unknown by most who don't know the technique. Seeing her confused look, Jiraiya continued, Kage Bunshin was invented by the Nidaime for the sole purpose of spying and infiltration. When a clone is dispelled, everything that the clone learns is transferred back to the original. Seeing that she was still confused about that particular facet, he elaborated, now think of it this way. You and your clone practice a technique for an entire day. At the end of the day, when you dispel the clone, whatever experience your clone gains, the same is gained by the original. Now tell me, do you remember how many clones this brat created any time that he fought? Sakura's eyes widened as she realized how many clones Naruto spammed, her expression making Jiraiya smile wider. Yes, I see that you understand how much he can truly train. And since then his chakra levels have grown so large that I can easily say that he has more chakra than everyone else in this room combined. What is the largest number of clones he has spammed, Jiraiya-sama? Shizen croaked. Naruto took a thinking pose, before answering in a nonchalant manner, since the last couple of months I have been regularly using around 800 to 1,000 clones on a daily basis. 800 to 1,000. Kakashi intoned almost hypnotically. Tsunade took the exact moment to explode, are you out of your fucking mind? 1,000 clones? Did you not think about the kind of stress your mind has to go through? Naruto was feeling somewhat guilty at this, but still stood resolutely. Calm down, Bachan. He spoke, catching her off guard. Of course I knew about the disadvantages, Erosenin told me about it. But Kyubi took care of that. He said that just the presence of his chakra boosted my regeneration, preventing any mental damage. Besides, I told you I used 1,000 clones a few months ago to finish learning a few necessary skills. I need whatever edge I can get to fight Akatsuki, and the Kage Bunshin was one thing that I couldn't not use. Naruto, Tsunade sighed, rubbing her temples, inwardly cursing the blonde for his lack of self-preservation. You will have to go through a mental checkup. We will have to see whether the overuse of technique has caused any permanent damage or not. You just know how to make my day worse, don't you? Bachan, Naruto started, I promise I am alright. If I ever feel any kind of strain or anything, you know I'll come to you guys. But till then you must know that I will train till I collapse, because no matter what I won't let the Akatsuki complete whatever plan they are plotting. Tsunade-sama, Sakura began cautiously, having never seen her teacher so angry before. What did Naruto mean by the Kyubi helping him? And what is this Akatsuki? You haven't told her? Naruto inquired, surprised. I thought the law dictates that everyone above the rank of Chunin knows about it. Jonin, Kakashi replied, getting a confused look from Naruto. Everyone above the rank of Jonin is informed. The Chunin who know are mostly those that were born before the incident. Naruto nodded. Tell Sakura about it after this meeting, would you, Bachan? A thoughtful look came across his face before he continued. You know what? I think it would be better if you just told everyone about the Kyubi. Tsunade gave him a bizarre look. Why on earth would you want that? Naruto smirked. Because it's getting obnoxious to keep a secret, and it's a bad secret at that. Everybody knows except for the kids, as if there's one thing I hate, it's badly kept secrets. You might as well just let people talk about it at this point. Jiraiya looked at Naruto somewhat proudly. He was taking his burden head on and just pressing the issue on it instead of trying to sweep it away. It was common knowledge that for those that didn't know Naruto but knew of him that the Kyubi would always be the proverbial elephant in the room. What about the hater's kid? Naruto scoffed. If anyone has any problems with it, I can keep myself safe at this point. If any of the people my age have a problem with it, they obviously don't care or know me enough to tell the difference between me and a demon, and anyone that has enough of a problem to actually try something should have done it when I could barely fight back. I just defeated Hatake Kakashi by myself. Let that little bit of info fly when you tell the village and see if anyone is still stupid enough to try anything on me. They couldn't get into my house anyway after I set up the security seals. Besides, ever since I defeated Gaara and brought Bachan back, most of the shinobi have at least some respect for me. Kakashi looked over the blonde who had a confident look on his face. Well, it's your secret to tell, I guess. It would make at least one less secret the village has to keep anyway. Naruto nodded in agreement. Yeah, and when Akatsuki tries something on me, the village will at least know why I'm tearing it apart, fighting in the middle of it instead of just being confused about it. Sakura stood there, confusion marring her face, as the people around her talked. What she understood was a secret, about Kyubi. Since it revolved around her teammate, she thought she at least deserved to know about it. Sure, she began, getting everyone's attention. What secret are you guys talking about? Forgot you were here for a second, Naruto replied, a sheepish expression on his face. Similar expressions were on everyone's face as they had also forgotten about the pinkette being in the room. Naruto decided to simply lay it down and not wait for the Hokage. Hey, it was his secret, so it was his decision who knew about it. Sakura, what do you know about Jinchurikis? Sakura furrowed her eyebrows in concentration. Not much I can say. Not much information is available. Mostly the gist as to how they are supposed to be ninjas within whom Biju are sealed and who are capable of utilizing the demon's chakra and are supposed to be extremely powerful ninja. What does that have to do with? Her eyes widened as the conversation came back to her. You are the Kyubi's Jinchuriki? Yep. Naruto replied all too cheerfully. Have been ever since the day of my birth. The Yondaime sealed Kyubi me due to the fact that I was the only Uzumaki child in Konoha. Any other kid would have died in my place. Sakura still seemed to be reeling from shock, before Naruto dropped the next bomb. And you must know this, Sakura. The reason Erosenin took me out to train was because currently there are 9 S-rank ninjas across the nations that are gunning to defeat the various Jinchuriki so that they can extract the Biju within them. Why? We don't know, but we can be sure of the fact that whatever they plan isn't going to be good for anyone. Noticing that she was not responding, Naruto sighed, before mumbling I shouldn't have told her about Akatsuki as well. She didn't need to know about them. Hey Shizen-ne-chan, he called out, getting the medic Nin's attention. You think you could take Sakura to her home? I think she is in some kind of shock. Shizen nodded and made her way to Sakura. And could you take Fu-chan to the Aburame clan? Seeing her questioning glance, he continued, I would have taken her to stay with me, but my home has been closed for the last 3 years. This was a lie. He had been staying there for the past week, but now he needed some alone time for a couple of days and discuss a few things with the Kejinu. Besides, due to the nature of Nanabai, she can easily stay with insects, and she will feel more comfortable among them. Fu, who had stayed in the background throughout the entire dialogue, came forward excitedly. I can't wait to meet the Abirame. Aren't they supposed to be the best in the use of insects throughout the nations? It will be so good to be able to meet people who use insects like me. Maybe we can even share ideas? She turned towards Naruto. Didn't you tell me about the Abirame clan heir being in your same class? Maybe we could be friends. Naruto scratched the back of his neck. I wasn't that close to Shino per se, but I think he'd be happy to meet someone like you. Don't worry, Naruto-kun, Shizen smiled. I'll tell Shibi-sama about Fu-chan once I drop Sakura in her house. I think he'll find it refreshing to find someone so fond of his clan. Placing a hand on Sakura's still shoulder, and placing the other on Fu's, she vanished in Shunshin. This time it was Nico who spoke. Uzumaki-san, the kenjutsu style that you were using, it was extremely similar to the ones I have seen a few samurai use. Am I right to assume that you have learned kenjutsu from a samurai? Naruto looked towards Ikejinu, who gave a quick nod, an action that wasn't missed by the remaining people present in the room. I should have known you'd recognize the style, Nico-chan. You always were the perceptive one, he chuckled. Yes, I learned kenjutsu from a samurai. However, I'm sorry to say that I cannot tell you who the person is. He already took a great risk when he decided to teach me. Besides, the only thing he taught me was the basis of kenjutsu, none of the techniques that the samurai use. They truly are an ingenious bunch, you know. They use just one kind of blade but are capable of using any blade they want. Moreover, he was only able to teach me for 6 months and get me started in kenjutsu. Most of the techniques that I learned and the practice that I got was through Ikejinu-chan. The attention of the room turned towards the black-haired Kunoichi, who seemed impervious by the attention she was getting. Nico turned her attention back towards Naruto, intent on asking another thing, one that Naruto seemed to have anticipated. Sorry, Nico-chan, but I already promised Sensei that I will not teach anyone their style. He only taught me to prepare for the eventual clash with Akatsuki members. Even he knows that such an organization cannot be good for any nation. He could see the ANBU visibly deflate at being eschewed, but his promise to his teacher was way too precious for him than a person's feeling. But if you want, Nico-chan, I shall be ready for a kenjutsu spar whenever possible. Ero-senin isn't a good kenjutsu user, so most of my practice has been against clones, Ikejinu-chan and Fu-chan. Training against good kenjutsu user will help a lot. This seemed to be the right thing to say as he could feel the excitement exuding from the masked nin. Now that another facet of your skills have been disclosed, what more can you tell us, brat? Tsunade asked. And Naruto shrugged, not much to say, truth be told. Ero-kyofu already told you about my sealing skills. What he didn't tell you was that most of it belongs to the previous clan head, Ashina Uzumaki. What do you mean by that, Naruto? Kakashi asked, curious about that tidbit. The thing is, while it is true we found lots of sealing knowledge in the catacombs below Yuzu, the main thing that I found was a specific seal, created by Ashina himself, most probably before Yuzu fell. The thing that it did was transfer about 30 years of sealing knowledge that belonged to Ashina himself into someone belonging to the clan head's family. Accidentally, I activated the seal and the knowledge was stored in my mind, making me the clan heir, and due to the lack of a clan head, the clan head. You just can't let me live in peace, can you, Naruto? Tsunade asked, massaging her temples. Danzo will most probably do anything to get his hands on the knowledge. Jiraiya scoffed, the Warhawk may try whatever he wants. The only way he gets the Uzumaki scrolls is over my dead body. I've given all the scrolls to the toads so that they can safely secure it, and we know that stealing something from them is nigh impossible. Besides, asking that particular knowledge is akin to asking clans for their secrets, and we know how that will go with the other clans. Besides, Naruto added, I have proven through blood that I am the legitimate heir to Ashina Ajisen, not just as an Uzumaki, but also a legitimate clan heir. Had anyone else activated the seal, their entire mind would have turned to mush, and they'd be dead in a few hours. The blood seals were so dangerous. Come to think of it, he mused as he focused his attention on Tsunade, you would have passed the seal as well seeing as you are Mitoba-chan's granddaughter. And still your glorious brain decided to test their efficiency. Tsunade spoke dryly with a twitch in her eyebrow. Hey, Naruto defended himself, it's not like I did so voluntarily. I told you it was an accident. Besides, it ended up in my favor, didn't it? And had you not been the legitimate heir? Did you even give a single thought to that? Tsunade rebutted, although there was some genuine concern in her voice that the others decided to ignore, rather than point it out and get pummeled. Naruto just smiled sheepishly at that, no reply for that anyhow. He decided to simply change the topic. Anyways, the knowledge that I gained from the seal was enough to make a proficient level 6 seal expert. The final note in the seal said that the entire knowledge wasn't there as Ajisen wanted the heir to become a capable seal master on his own. This seal was just so that the person could have some basic understanding of Fuinjutsu. But Kakashi spoke, his eyebrows furrowed. Throughout the fight you never used Fuinjutsu. Naruto gave a smile, making Kakashi shiver at the gleeful expression on the newly promoted Tokubetsu Jonin, The reason you didn't see any seals was because I didn't want it to be seen. Every time that you parried or blocked my attack, every time when your body came in contact with my hands, I placed a seal on your body." A befuddled Kakashi started combing through his body in search for said seals, only to be stopped short as Naruto continued speaking. "And no matter how much you try, you won't be able to find a single one of them. Another specialty of mine, I must say. By the end of the spar, you were riddled with at least a dozen high-quality explosive seals, 1 paralysis seal, 1 gravity seal and 1 resistance seal. When I said I could have finished the spar with 1 move, I meant it, sensei. I never told you that I had backup plans created throughout the entire spar. Besides, even your book has a hidden explosive seal on it. Think of it as kind of security. The next time you are late to a team meeting or a mission, I will detonate it. And no matter how far you are from me, it will still detonate." The entire room stood stunned, never expecting the blonde to have planned so ahead throughout the spar. A couple of moves was expected, but that much ingenuity along with the free use of seals, making them invisible. Meanwhile, Kakashi was horrified at the last fact. As an avid reader, he couldn't not read the book. But the fact that it was written with a high-quality explosive seal meant he would have to lose his tardiness. Truly, Kakashi was between a rock and a hard place. "In the end of the spar with Kakashi-senpai," Nico broke the silence, "we saw you using a sword that wasn't Kubikura Bocho." And although it was a statement, Naruto could see the question hidden in it. In a poof of smoke, the similar kodachi, this time in a black sheath with gold and silver inlays, was presented to everyone else. Naruto gave it a few experimental swings, before placing the sword by his side, which stuck there as though glued to it. "This is Senninki no Ken, found it in the catacombs as well. I hadn't thought about learning Kenjutsu at that point, but the blade was so badass I decided to learn Kenjutsu." "How is the blade badass as you most succinctly put it?" Nico asked, finding the blade interesting. "Sorry, Nico-chan," Naruto spoke apologetically, "can't show it right now. I only use it fully in a battle, and that too in a life-or-death situation. I used it against Kakashi-sensei because I knew Ikejinu-chan was pissed off because I was using Kubikiri. Besides, I find this sword much more comfortable than that." Naruto," Kakashi spoke next, some amount of trepidation in his voice, "what was the move that you used at last, before your clones surrounded me?" "Oh, that." The blonde spoke as though he had just realized something. Meanwhile, Jiraiya facepalmed at his idiot genius. "It was just the standard Shunshin." "But how?" Kakashi asked, stumped that his ex-student could use the simple D-rank jutsu with such efficiency. The only person that he could remember used the same technique in such an efficient manner was Shursui Uchiha, who had earned the moniker of Shunshin no Shursui. Contrary to popular belief, the technique was not a teleportation technique but was simply used to move at untraceable speed, making anyone think that the person had teleported. Where in actuality, the person simply used his/her chakra to temporarily vitalize the body and move at extreme speeds, the amount of chakra influenced by the distance and elevation. However, this technique had its own shortcomings. First, it was highly chakra strenuous over an extended period of time. Secondly, should a person hold a dojutsu like the Sharingan or the Byakugan, he/she could sense the chakra flow to anticipate the destination of the technique, diminishing its efficacy in the front line. But what he had felt, the way Naruto and his clones had appeared right before him, he had been unable to anticipate that. He had first thought that the Tokubetsu Jonin had used his father's infamous technique, Hiraishin, and wouldn't that have been a clincher? Still, he was unable to comprehend how the young man had able to use it in that particular manner. "You thought that he used Hiraishin, didn't you?" Jiraiya inquired, a patent smirk on his face. "How did you come to that conclusion?" Kakashi inquired, curious as to how the Sannin had read him like a book. It was true he was surprised, but he was sure most of them had thought that it was due to the use of Shunshin. "Because that is what I thought when the Gaki used it against me," Jiraiya replied, much to the surprise of everyone. The way his signature almost vanishes before reappearing the next moment will make anyone think that it was a teleportation instead of simple high-speed movement. "But that still doesn't change the fact that my Sharingan should have seen where he was going to land," Kakashi countered, still befuddled at that tidbit. "Because the Sharingan can see chakra flow?" Naruto conjectured, getting an affirmation from the seasoned Jonin. "That you would have not been able to guess my trajectory. You do remember that the mist that I brought forth wasn't a simple one?" Kakashi's one visible eyebrow shot up into his slanted headband as the implication of the simple statement came upon him, an action that made Naruto smile widely in satisfaction at having one-upped his previous sensei. "Because the mist was laced with your chakra," Tsunade was the one to speak this time, having understood what the brat had done and was now voicing her thoughts. "Kakashi's Sharingan could not have seen where your chakra was flowing, making you nearly invisible in the mist." "Yup," Naruto nodded in avowal. "Ikejinu-chan and Erosanin have helped me a lot in my stealth skills. We already know about 4 members of Akatsuki and this technique will help with 2 of them, specifically Itachi and that Japanist, Haiden. Although seeing that Itachi's partner is Kisame, I don't know how effective it can be. Using it against Kisame will be senseless, seeing that he is perhaps the strongest amongst the Kiri swordsmen. A scoff from Akejinu caught the other's attention, while Naruto groaned while mumbling, "Here we go again." "You wanted to say something, Akejinu-san?" Tsunade inquired of the kunoichi. "Nothing, Hokage-sama," Akejinu began, "it's just that you blow these 7 swordsmen way out of proportion. You think that they are good because they are good swordsmen. For me or anyone who is skilled in the art of the sword, they are nothing but an affront in the name of Kenjutsu. I haven't seen any of them in action, so I can't talk about their skills, but what I have heard about the swords, and I can barely call a few of them swords, is that it is the swords themselves that makes them more dangerous. Take away their sword and you are fighting someone who is just a good samurai using chakra techniques. This Kisame, whom Naruto-kun and the pervert are talking about, apparently uses his sentient sword to drain chakra from his opponents, and thus neutralizes any of their technique. So tell me what will happen if someone fights him using techniques that aren't based on chakra usage?" General astonishment filled the room as the Kage, ANBU captain and former ANBU captain understood what Akejinu was implying. It was as if Akejinu was tailor-made to fight Kisame. Her non-reliance on chakra made the use of Samahata redundant, as it wouldn't be able to siphon any chakra, leveling the playing fields a bit. "We only have general information about Kisame, Akejinu-chan," Naruto began, breaking everyone's line of thought. "Apart from him using Samahata, he is also known to have massive chakra reserves, meaning he can throw around ninjutsu with reckless abandon, and if you want to fight him, then we have to get you prepared for that." "Hold it right there," Tsunade interjected with a growl. "What in the name of Kami are you both talking about? Facing Kisame? Are the two of you out of your mind?" Both of them tilted their heads and looked at the fuming Kage as though she was stupid. "Bachan," Naruto was the first to speak, "we know that Akatsuki are coming and nothing is going to change that. What we can do is prepare ourselves. Besides, there is no way in hell that I will simply hide out and let others jeopardize their lives to protect me. Isn't this what the trip was for? To become strong enough that I can fight these monsters? As for fighting Kisame, Akejinu-chan wanted to do that and show others that the Kiri swordsmen are nothing compared to a true practitioner of Kenjutsu. And I am not going to stop her if that is what she wants. In fact, I will be there when she beats the tar out of the fish bastard." Tsunade grumbled. She really did not want to risk the life of the one person whom she considered a family, and who was in fact his family. If she had her way, the blonde bastard would be hidden deep within a bunker or on some isolated island until the situation with Akatsuki was handled. But she knew that he wouldn't let them do it, no matter how much she tried. "All right," she groused, rubbing her temples in vexation. "What else happened on the trip?" "I just gave him a letter Minato had prepared as soon as he found out that Kushina was pregnant," Jiraiya spoke. "I didn't know what was in the letter, truth be told. The brat tried to show me what was written, but all I could see was barely legible scribbles. When we found similar things in Yuzu, we came to the conclusion that Minato used seals taught to him by Kushina to make it in such a way that only someone of Uzumaki descent could read it. Truly an ingenious work, I must say." The letter contained mostly some personal stuff, although there was one thing that stood out, Naruto added. There was one of his Hiraishin kunais with the shiki. The letter stated that was how Dad recreated Hiraishin, after he saw the shiki that the Night Aim used, and that was what he wanted me to do. He said how that he had started the recreation of the jutsu from scratch, and that was how he wanted me to proceed, should I ever want to recreate it. And let me tell you, the entire process is so damn boring. I had to study so much, my clones started rebelling. The clones I created to study would dispel themselves almost immediately just to save themselves from the boredom. I had to study so much myself, and even now I am not even close to completing it." The surprises seemed to keep coming, as the ninja in the room understood what the blonde was saying. Even now, a Hiraishin kunai could make even most veteran IWA jonin shake their boots in fear. The technique was that feared. Adding to the fact, the extent to which Naruto had mastered Shunshin, should he recreate Hiraishin he could easily take the mantle of the fastest shinobi in the elemental nations, making him dangerous even to an organization filled with S-rank shinobi. His clones really are a work of nature, Haim. The astonished environment was eventually broken by Jiraiya, who had started to feel way too serious in the room. "You just have to see them. I almost died laughing a couple of times when they started fighting among themselves about who would get to eat the ramen." Jiraiya chortled as unbidden memories came to his mind. Yeah, laugh all you want, pervert," Naruto grumbled, his clones apparently being a sore topic for him. "I only wish your clones would be insubordinate so you can feel how I feel." Tsunade sighed, the shocked feeling in the room having dissipated with the bickering between the teacher and student. "Now, is there anything else that you two want? I need to get back to this damned paperwork. And once Shizen comes back, I can be damn sure I won't get to have another drink." Naruto moved closer to Tsunade, whispering something in her ear. "That something was what?" Nobody could hear, but the look of delight on her face made everyone take a step back in trepidation. She suddenly jumped up from her chair, hugging the young man with all her might, and if the cracking of his ribs being heard throughout the room was any evidence, the might was somewhat too much for the blonde. "Tsunade-sama," Kakashi decided to intervene, "I think you are choking him." And indeed, the blonde seemed to have stopped breathing, his face blue due to the lack of air. Tsunade immediately let go of the blonde, making him take huge gulps of sweet air. Calming down, all the while taking several steps away from the delighted Hokage, Naruto spoke, "Bachan, please don't try to kill me next time, would you? Now I'm going to take up residence in the Uzumaki clan home. You want to find me, I'll either be there or the Forbidden Forest. I'm going to use that as my new training ground." Seeing their rather incredulous looks, he shrugged. "What? It is a good training ground. I can go all out without any restraints. See you around, everyone. Come meet me whenever you want to spar, Nico-chan. I'm sure you guys know how to find me. If not, then I think it will be a good exercise for you all. The ANBU really are going complacent in this village, you know." Not waiting for a response, Naruto walked over to the open window and jumped out, the blonde Hokage cursing the damn brat for not using the door like a proper shinobi. Kakashi soon followed afterwards. He had a book to read after all, while Nico hid herself in the office, once again going back to her job as the bodyguard, though she did want to have a few words with the rest of the ANBU if a Tokubetsu Jonin could fool them for so long. Tsunade turned towards Ikejinu, wanting to know where she would be staying, only to find the space she was standing completely vacant, as though she wasn't standing there a second ago. She looked towards Jiraiya with raised eyebrows, almost demanding an explanation. Jiraiya merely shrugged, having grown used to this, before a lecherous grin was back on his face. "Well, Haim, now that I've brought back the Gaki, I'll be heading out. Now that 3 years are almost up, the Akatsuki should start making their moves and we need whatever information on them. Now, what do you say about sending me a goodbye hug, though I would love if you gave where I'm on top and you." Naruto's attention was drawn upwards as a white blur flew from the direction of the Hokage tower. Shaking his head, Naruto continued on his way. "I knew it was a good idea to leave that window open. Ero-sennin is seriously a glutton for punishment, I swear." As he moved towards his favorite shop, only one thought ran through his mind: it sure is good to be back. Chapter 3. Reaching his destination, Naruto's stomach growled in anticipation as he threw aside the curtain keeping him from the stools of the Ichiraku ramen bar. Taking his seat, he smirked to himself. "Hey! I'm back and I've been deprived for far too long." Ayam, who was running the counter at the moment, looked flabbergasted. "Naruto-kun, you were here just a couple hours ago." "That's it, Nei-chan," Naruto pointed out, "that was more than 2 hours ago. Now I'm hungry again. And I need to make up for the 3 years of ramen deprivation." "You didn't eat ramen for 3 years? Ayam was shocked. The guy who ate ramen at least 2 times a day didn't eat at all for 3 years. Well, that explained the ramen-eating frenzy he had shown earlier. She had been surprised, and somewhat disappointed when the blonde hadn't spoken to her when he had come with his companions. "Speaking of said companions, and where are the ladies that you were accompanying this morning? You didn't leave them alone, did you?" she asked, an all-too-sweet smile on her face that promised pain if he gave the wrong answer. Pfft, Naruto waved her off, not at all affected by her smile. He had been with Ikejinu for close to 2 years, and no matter what the ramen waitress did, she couldn't compare to the black-haired Kunoichi. As if the pervert could stop me from eating the food of the gods. Though he did restrict ramen to just twice a week. Even then it wasn't your ramen, Nei-chan. He looked at her straight in the eyes, tears flowing from his eyes like a waterfall. "Do you know how much I miss your ramen? No matter how much I traveled, no matter where I went, no ramen I found as good as yours. In fact, I'd marry you if Tsuchiya-san gave me the recipe for the ramen." Fu-chan is off to meet some people with Shizen-ichan. As for Ikejinu-chan, I guess she will be here in a few minutes. Satisfied with his answer, Ayam made a hurting expression as a few tears made way to her eyes. "You mean you'd marry just for the ramen recipe?" Naruto, despite knowing that the look being fake, couldn't help but sigh. He really was a sucker for such acts. "Ayam-nichan, you don't need to bring out the fake hurt look, you know. If I had to marry you, I'd do so because I found you beautiful, not because I wanted the recipe. The recipe itself would be just a bonus." The reddish hue that came across the waitress' face made him chuckle. However, it seemed Ayam wasn't going down without a fight. "And what about that teammate of yours? Sakura, wasn't that her name?" Naruto shrugged. "She said she loved Sasuke, though I still don't understand how a 12-year-old can say she loves someone. While it would seem hypocritical since I asked her out a lot, it was mostly because I wanted her to show me at least some of the affection that she showed to the bastard. I always thought that asking a girl on a date was a way to get to know them better and be their friends. I never realized that it was an intimate matter. And it was true. Having grown an orphan, a Jinchuriki orphan, he had negligible interactions with children his age, and by the time he had joined the academy he did not know how to approach someone to become their friends. Being the think-headed kid he he bull rushed into befriending the first person he met, who just so happened to be one Sakura Haruno. She had obviously eschewed him, and he, being the stubborn kid he was, something he later learned that he had inherited from his mother, had decided that he would befriend her. And while such method had worked on Gaara, who had it worse than him, it was bound to be a failure with a normal girl like Sakura. Even his friendship with Ayam had more familial basis than pure friendship. I never said I loved her anyways, he continued. And after treating her so nicely when we were on the same team, the only thing I got in reply was being pummeled to the ground. Even today, she tried to hit me just because I was flirting with Nico-chan, like I was doing something vile. Is it wrong for a guy to flirt with a woman? You know, throughout my travels, Konoha is the only place where someone tried to pummel me for this. Besides, I only flirt with girls whom I know or who show some interest in me. You tell me, what would you do if I tell you that you look extremely delectable in that waitress outfit? The reddish hue on the waitress' face escalated further several shades at the innocent way that the blonde had asked the question. She was saved from any further embarrassment as another person entered the ramen stand, and the young waitress couldn't be more relieved to find the black-haired kunoichi, who, if the hideate was any evidence, was now a kunoichi. Naruto, she spoke in a manner that Ayam wished she could use. She saw Naruto visibly freeze at that voice and couldn't help but chuckle at the way the kunoichi had apparently had the young ninja trained. What have I said to you regarding eating too much ramen? And were you really flirting with Ayam-san? Akejinu continued, her voice getting colder by the second. Scary, Naruto muttered before straightening himself and turned towards Akejinu, who had taken the empty seat beside him, a pout on his face. But it's Ichiraku, he whined piteously. I haven't had their succulents for so long. You had 35 bowls just this morning, she pointed out imperially, before her countenance turned mischievous. And I saw how you didn't answer the question about you flirting with Ayam-san. You know I call them as I see them, he shrugged as if he was simply stating a fact. If I say that I find Ayam-chan stunning, you know that I am not simply flirting, but in fact the truth. A now red-faced Ayam could do nothing but gape at the sincerity in the blonde words. She truly had no idea how to respond to that. Fortunately for her, she didn't have to, as another person joined in on the conversation. Who is the bastard flirting with my daughter? The unyielding voice of Tucci came from the back, he himself following a couple of moments later. The angry visage turned into a grin as he realized it was Naruto making all the racket. His grin turned wider when he saw the beautiful woman sitting beside him. Well, look who came back from the dead. Where have you been, Naruto? We've been wondering where our primary patron was. And who is this pretty lady that has decided to accompany a ruffian like you? As Naruto gawked at the insult, Akejinu smiled at the ramen chef. My name is Akejinu, she gave a small bow from her seated position. It's nice to finally meet you, Ichiraku-san. Naruto-kun has told me a lot about you. My, Tucci chortled, it is nice to see that the brat is hanging out with someone who has decent manners. I just hope he learns even a trickle of decency from you. And call me Tucci, any friend of Naruto is welcome to this stand. I try my best, Tucci-san. Akejinu gave a sigh of annoyance, one that everyone knew was fake. But you know how Naruto-kun is. He just doesn't want to learn anything that I try to teach him. Naruto interrupted, having had enough of the twofold attack from Akejinu and Tucci. He could see Ayam barely holding on to the ledge of the ramen stand, trying to control her laughter. Stop talking like I'm not here, Databeo. He blinked before cursing inaudibly at his verbal tick. As he looked at each person present in the stand, he grumbled incoherently when he saw each of them smiling at his predicament. Jokes aside, Tucci began after he got his laughter under control. It really is good to see you, Naruto. You will not believe how agitated Ayam and I were when you did not come to eat here 1 week straight. She almost went ballistic when Hokage-sama did not tell where you had gone. Ayam blushed in embarrassment, her eyes glued to the floor. That had not been one of her better decisions. She had later realized that had the Hokage wanted, she would not have left the room and instead would be a smear on the wall. Naruto smiled at his elder sister figure, leading to further reddening of her cheeks. Ayam gave her father a death glare, though the effect was significantly condensed courtesy of her inflamed cheeks, something which she noticed as Tucci's snickers amplified. So she did the only thing that she thought was sagacious. She huffed and retreated back into the kitchen. Tucci laughed as he saw his daughter glare at him from the kitchen. You aren't a true parent if you don't embarrass your children. He turned towards Naruto, who was himself looking towards the fuming waitress in amusement. You aren't thinking about doing something unscrupulous with my daughter, are you, Naruto? He inquired, his parent mode activating in defense of his daughter. Gaining another groan from said daughter. Although there was a subtle threat, Naruto simply waved him off. Don't worry, Ajisen, it's nothing. He rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Anyways, as to your earlier inquiry, I was away for a while. Training purposes. And now that I'm back, I got promoted to Tokubetsu Jonin, and will most probably be promoted to Jonin in the next few months. I hope so. As for Akejinu-chan, she is a chunin for the village now. Now give me some ramen. Your primary patron is waiting. Tucci nodded and patted him on the shoulder. Congratulations on the promotion, kid. Knew you'd be a good ninja. Taking out a notepad and pen, he continued, so what will you have? Naruto thought on it for a moment. Give me 7 bowls of miso back to back, 5 chicken, and what the hell, 2 vegetable ramen. Variety, right? Tucci laughed to himself. Yeah, variety, right. It'll be right out, Naruto. He then turned towards Ikejinu. And what can I get for you? I'm fine, Tucci-san, Ikejinu replied graciously. Not all of us are never-ending pits that can gorge down anything thrown at them. All the while her attention didn't waver from Naruto, who in a show of immense maturity stuck his tongue out at her. Not that it gained any kind of response from the seasoned kunoichi. It's all right, Tucci smiled, seeing their small interaction. I haven't seen anyone who can eat ramen with the gusto that the brat shows. I'll be right up with your order, brat. As soon as Tucci went back to prepare the meal for the blonde shinobi, Ayam came back out, crossed the counter and gave Naruto a back-crushing hug. Despite being just a civilian, the girl sure packed a lot of strength. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. But didn't you say the test was about you becoming Jonin? Naruto scratched the back of his neck with his one free hand, all the while using the other to hold on to Ayam as he enjoyed the hug from his sister-like figure. Yeah? Forgot one thing Ero-sennin told me that was required for becoming one. While on the basis of skill I may be a Jonin, I'll have to be capable of leading a team, and be comfortable of working with any team, and that can only happen when I gain some experience in a team. Any idea who your team members may be? Ayam asked, as she made her way back behind the counter and Naruto took his seat. Naruto shrugged, don't know. Usually most teams formed are temporary, with members jumping from one team to another based on the mission. So who knows? Ayam seemed content with the answer as she went back to cleaning pots, occasionally chatting with the residential blonde in between. Naruto tried to hide it, but the subtle tapping of the underside of the counter would sometimes let it be known that he was actually anticipating his meal. Before he ended up getting his food, he ended up getting a tap on the shoulder from a familiar face. Turning to face the person who had tried getting his attention, Naruto came face to face with a sorrowful Sakura. Naruto, I would like to apologize. Naruto raised a hand to stop her mid-speech, while he patted the empty stool beside him. Taking it as an invitation to sit down, Sakura took the seat as Naruto turned to face her. From the look on your face, it seems Shizune-chan told you everything about life of ninjas like us? Getting a solemn shake in return, he sighed, Sakura, I don't want your pity. In fact, I don't want anybody's pity. Everything I've done ever since I became a genin, I did it gain people's attention and respect. My proclamation of becoming Hokage was only because I wanted people to look at me like they looked at Sandangiji. Naruto let a ghost of a smile come to his features as Tucci brought Naruto his first bowl. The boy dug in after a small utterance of Itakamasa. Sakura ordered a small bowl of chicken ramen. Traveling with Ero-sennin and the people I met made me realize that I don't need recognition from people that hated me despite everything I've done for the village. I realized that I didn't want their respect by wanting to be the Hokage, I wanted their adoration. Now, I don't give a fuck what the majority of those people think about me. If they hate me, fine, go ahead and hate me, but I want their respect in the purest form, not any kind of love from them. They can sneer at me and say things behind my back all they would like, but when I'm dead they better recognize the fact that I was the best damn ninja that they ever had the pleasure of seeing in person. Now, most of the ninja forces treat me with respect after what I've done, and I'm more than happy with it. Due to Konohamaru, most of the younger generation also looks up to me. What more do I need? As long as my name is emblazoned in the history books and a 97-year-old Irika-sensei is still yelling at a classroom full of brats to shut the hell up so they can study Naruto Uzumaki, and why exactly he was so important to the village, I'll be fine. I want the kids of my generation to sit down with their kids and tell stories of the time that Naruto Uzumaki saved their asses. Sakura sat there, stunned at the monologue by her teammate, still unable to fathom that this was the immature Naruto that had left the village nearly 3 years ago. She quickly recomposed herself, quickly deciding not to get surprised anymore. Her teammate truly had a propensity of surprising everyone. Nevertheless, I think I need to apologize, Naruto. Not for that matter, but for trying to hit you. While I still don't like the fact that you were flirting with someone, and you nonetheless, I think that I was being unfair to you. Naruto paused from his utter decimation of the hapless bowl of ramen to turn towards Sakura, a look of absolute shock marring his face. He couldn't comprehend Sakura apologizing for trying to hit him. And truly he could see how she was forcing herself to say the words, Sakura, I can tell you are forcing yourself to apologize for trying to hit me, and if there's one thing that I don't like, it's someone lying to my face. If you don't like my flirting, tell me that, not that it will change anything. And just like that, any kind of respect that the pinkette had for the blonde pummeled. What do you mean by that, Naruto? She asked, nearly gritting her teeth. The blonde ninja, while not following her anymore, still seemed to find new ways to infuriate her. That no matter what you try, You won't stop me from flirting. He shrugged, before shoveling the latest bowl of ramen. You remember who my senseis were? One of them reads porn in public while the other one is the author of said porn and would go to every hot spring and face the wrath of women for his research the way I turned out. You should be happy that I didn't start asking you something perverse the moment I met you. His eyes widened as a thought crossed his mind. Wait a second, you're not angry that I flirted with Nico-chan. You're angry that I didn't do it with you. Ignoring her twitching eyebrows, he continued, why didn't you say so, Sakura-chan? If you wanted, I'd be happy to do that to you. The last part was spoken with a lecherous grin and wiggling eyebrows as he closed the distance between the two of them, getting in her personal space. There was silence for a few moments, before the blonde shinobi ducked, dodging a punch to his face. He quickly exited the stand, not wanting any harm to befall on it. He dodged another swing. Get back here, you bastard. Take your hit like a man. Naruto grinned, before jumping on top of buildings, and oh way. I already told Bia-chan I ain't taking a hit like Iaro-senin. Besides, I know you were thinking about it, Sakura. I'll kill you, Naruto. You cannot run forever. You won't catch me alive, Sakura. 2 hours later. Damn, Sakura surely has improved in the 3 years. Naruto spoke, as he retraced his steps back towards Ichiraku. Had to pay the bill, didn't he? Didn't know her stamina increased so much. Bachan must have put her through the ringer. After letting the pinkette chase him for the next 2 hours, the blonde had eventually used his shunshin to get away once he saw that she was starting to get tired. Oh, he knew that he'd pay for it the next time they'd meet, but decided to simply wing it. As he moved towards his destination, he heard a few recognizable voices, bringing a smile to his face. He turned round the corner to find his favorite group of kids. Oh, come on, Ebisu-sensei. Konohamaru whined, why can't we go on higher-ranked missions? These chores are so boring. And if I have to catch the damn cat again, I'm sure I'll kill it. Ebisu, the sensei to the newly formed Genin Konohamaru squad, simply shook his head. I am afraid, Konohamaru, until you master the basics and are deemed adequate by me, I cannot, in good conscience, allow you 3 to take any higher missions. The Genin groaned, if I only do these silly chores, then how am I supposed to defeat Naruto-ebun? He must have become a powerhouse after his training. I can't wait to see him when he returns. Naruto revealed himself to the group, by sneaking up from behind them. Hey there, everyone. He spoke out loud, causing the group to jump in surprise while a girlish shriek escaped Ebisu's mouth. He had to do that once again and more importantly somehow save it as blackmail material. It still felt good torturing the poor elite jonin. The group quickly recomposed themselves, while Ebisu tried to somehow save his reputation by trying to act his usual self. Boss! The 3 genin shouted in unison, while Konohamaru seemed to have stars in his eyes at seeing his self-proclaimed rival. When did you arrive? It's really good to see you. Reached the village just this morning, brat. He spoke nonchalantly. Hey, while he was proud of his pranks, he didn't want it advertised that he was the one to do them. Didn't want the entire ANBU forces after him. What about you guys? When did you all receive your headband? Moegi, the female member of the team with a permanent blush on her face, spoke, just a couple of months ago, boss. Although, the D ranks are something that we can do without. Naruto placed his hand on her head, ruffling her hair. She swatted it away with a scowl on her face. Don't worry, Moegi, it's only for some time. Complete the requisite amount of Ds and you'll be able to take a light C rank soon. He turned towards the sensei. Hello there, Ebisu, how are you doing? Like taking care of a group of brats? Ignoring the shout of indignation from said brats, Ebisu replied, I'm fine, Uzumaki-san. As for teaching the brats, as you say, I have always found teaching better than any other kind of missions. By the way, congratulations on your defeat of Kakashi-senpai and your promotion. It seems your training trip with Jiraiya-sama was fruitful. The 3 genin had a dumbfounded look on their face, while Naruto scratched the back of his neck. News like that surely got around fast, didn't it? Although he didn't think it would travel this fast. One of the ANBU must have talked. Konohamaru was the first to break the silence. You defeated one of the best ninja in the village, boss. And got promoted? It was nothing, Konohamaru. Naruto waved him off. Kakashi was holding back, he was too, as a matter of fact, but didn't find it prudent to spread, didn't want to cause any damage to the village, you know. It was just a spar. And the spar was the reason I got promoted. So cool. Konohamaru exclaimed, it means you can teach us now? Sure, Naruto shrugged, before turning towards Ebisu. I hope you don't mind. Ero-senin taught me a lot of things and I think I could at least get them started in a few of them. Of course not, Uzumaki-san. I think being taught even something by the student of Jiraiya-sama will be a great experience for my students. Ebisu replied, while Naruto noticed how the jonin did not have the usual brusque nature that he previously showed the blonde. In fact, he could see some respect directed towards himself. You don't need to be so formal with me, Ebisu, Naruto spoke. I am still the brat who used his Harima no Jutsu to knock you out. Call me Naruto. There is no need to use any honorific. I don't use them unless a necessity. Ignoring his sniggering students, having been reminded of his defeat by a genin, Ebisu replied with a twitching eyebrow, "All right, Naruto-san. So, when can I expect you to take the kids off my hands?" "Not sure," Naruto shrugged. "I just returned and it will most be a few more days before I start taking missions. I'll inform you when I'm free. Now, you guys go on with your training and missions. I'll see you around." "See you around, boss." The three genin replied, while Ebisu nodded towards the blonde. Waving the Chibi Brigade goodbye, he went back to the ramen stand, profusely apologizing to Tucci and Ayam for leaving without paying, also asking if they knew where Ikejino had gone. That had gotten him another reprimand from his sister figure as to how he could let someone new to the village alone, and how it was negligent of him. And while Naruto knew that Ikejino could handle herself, he knew that he had been carried away in teasing Sakura. After paying them back, the blonde moved towards his ancestral home, having stayed there for the entire week during his pranking period. He knew that she would somehow find him and that there was nothing he could do. Situated remotely towards the exterior of the village, he traveled at a somewhat slow pace, enjoying the atmosphere. Traveling for about half an hour, the blonde finally reached his destination, although he wasn't surprised to find his traveling partner standing there looking as regal as she could. Although the slight tapping of her feet informed him that she had been waiting there for a while. "Sorry," he began, nervously scratching the back of his neck. "It took some time to get Sakura off of me. It seems that we will have to retrain in eluding enemy ninja," she spoke, not caring how pale Naruto's face had gone at that, "if you were unable to get away from a Chunin." But I was playing with her all the time," he stammered out, trying to find a way out from that particular training. "Doesn't matter," she stated, cutting off any further excuses. "You should have evaded her within half an hour. She was angry and you should have used it for your benefit. You were unable to do that, and that means that your skills were lacking. That is something that I will not tolerate." Seeing that he was still going to argue, she glared at him, effectively shutting him up. She pushed the guard of her kodachi, extracting just an inch of the sword from its scabbard, and ran her thumb along the edge, gaining a small cut on it, and turned towards Naruto, an expectant look on her face. Naruto sighed, knowing that there was going to be no reprieve from his teacher, and turned towards the gate. The compound gate, a gate especially made by Hashirama Senju for his then fiancée Mito Uzumaki, was an unassuming wooden gate emblazoned with the Uzumaki swirl in its center. He placed his hand on the gate and channeled some chakra through the swirl, all the while going through numerous hand seals, finishing with a half-ram seal. Numerous squiggles of kanji appeared on the gate in the shape of the swirl, stopping just before the hand that was placed on the gate. Naruto removed his hand from the gate and turned towards Ikejino, who by now had blood on all of her fingers. Getting the go-ahead, the former Ige Kunoichi placed her hands on the empty center of the Uzumaki swirl. Not a second later, the kanji glowed before disappearing. As Ikejino stepped back, Naruto took her place and channeled some chakra to the swirl. Numerous squiggles of kanji appeared for a moment, before vanishing, immediately followed by the opening of the gates in a flourish. The entire compound having been cleaned spotless by his army of clones. He entered the moderate-sized traditional wooden house, followed closely behind by Ikejino, making his way towards the bedroom. The hallways were made of similar wooden flooring as was the kitchen, while the common areas like the living room consisted of tatami flooring. Not something he personally preferred, as he hated sitting in seiza. Still, it was a good compound, and was in a good condition, mostly due to the stasis and reinforcement seals placed. Reaching the door to a room, he turned towards Ikejino. "This is my room," he began. "You can take the one beside this one, and tomorrow we can tell Fu-chan to take the one at the end. The bathroom is at the end of the corridor, and there is a hot spring behind the compound." "And what about your pervert teacher?" Ikejino asked, knowing about the tendencies of said person. And while she would not hesitate in suing her looks for seduction missions, when it came to the matter of respite, she did not want it ending primarily because of the works of a self-proclaimed super pervert. "Don't worry about it," he waved her off. "There are seals that prevent any kind of snooping, no matter what technique he uses." As a matter of fact, he was sure that the seals could prevent the use of even the Tongen no Jutsu, one of the best tracking tools should one be familiar with someone's chakra. Giving a nod of approval, Ikejino went towards the bathroom. Naruto himself entered his room, one that once used to be occupied by his mother, Kushina Uzumaki, as evidenced by the numerous photos of her ninja and civilian life, something he cherished more than the house itself. He took off his shirt, his upper body revealing a multitude of scars, most flagrant of them being two fist-sized ones, where he had been pierced by Sasuke's Chidori. Taking a quick bath, he went back to his room and sat down, cross-legged, and started to regulate his breath, while reaching deep within his psyche. Not 5 seconds later, the blonde opened his eyes as he was greeted by a familiar sight. Having entered his mindscape Konoha, Naruto made his way towards the Hokage monument, more specifically the forest area above it. Reaching there, He found a horse-sized orange fox, with front paws shaped in the form of a human hand and rabbit ears, 9 tails spread out behind it, and finally finishing the ensemble was a collar around its neck with the kanji for seal written on it. "Oi, Kyubi!" Naruto shouted, a tick mark on his face. "I know you felt me enter the mindscape. Get the fuck up, you lazy fox. I know you are awake." Kyubi opened one eye, before closing it back. "Shut the fuck up, Kit." The Biju grumbled, before yawning, as though having just woken up from a deep slumber. "What do you want?" "I was having such a brilliant dream." "Dream later, Kyubi. I wanted to ask you a few things." Naruto spoke, before seating himself beside the embodiment of mass destruction, somehow resisting the temptation to scratch the fox. "Whatever you want to ask, do it quickly. I have other things to do." Naruto quirked an eyebrow, not that such an action was going to affect the Biju. "What were you going to do here? The only thing I ever see you do here is sleep and the occasional destruction of Konoha that I have chanced upon." "That is what you think I do, brat." Kyubi scoffed, swishing its tails. "No matter how much I like destroying your despicable village, eventually I too get bored after such hapless destruction." Naruto shook his head, knowing that getting a straight answer from the Biju regarding a few matters was next to impossible. "Okay, I know you saw the entire spar with Kakashi-sensei. What did you think of it?" "I have only one thought: you sucked." Not giving any attention to the face-faulting shinobi, the fox continued, "You underestimated the scarecrow, your situational awareness was shoddy. I had to tell you about the underground attack. Most of all, instead of fighting, you were talking to him. Instead of fighting him and defeating him as quickly as possible, you were interacting. If it were a real battle, he would have defeated you due to your lack of attention." Picking himself up, Naruto sighed. "I know I made a huge number of mistakes. But the thing is, I treated it as a simple showcase of my abilities. Still doesn't change the fact that I made mistakes." He took a deep breath, before turning towards the fox. "Anything you needed while I'm here? Any more freedom?" Kyubi gave the blonde a once-over, before taking a deep breath. "Nothing else, Kit. Just try to use the mode quickly. Want to feel the bloodlust. And don't think that just because we are on a talking basis that I will not devour you when we fight. I am just waiting for the day you remove this blasted seal so that we can have our fight, and I can tear you apart. And don't forget your promise." "Can't wait to fight you too, you bastard fox." Naruto smirked, a smirk that was copied by the Biju itself. Not a few moments later, the blonde shinobi faded away, leaving the fox alone. The fox stood up, made his way towards the monument overlooking Konoha, slowly increasing in size until it was as tall as the monument itself, a grin appearing on its face as the shinobi force of Konoha stood in front of it. Now, only two things could make his day. "Kyubi! I won't let you cause any harm to Konoha." The projection of the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze, shouted passionately as it stood atop the mental Hokage tower, something that was copied by the shinobi forces. On the other side, a distortion in the space occurred, followed by a gleeful voice, as a man in an orange spiral mask appeared from the distortion. "Yes, my pet. Obey my command and destroy these pesky Konohanin." As Kyubi reared its maw, ready to destroy the ninja and the masked man alike, a voice rang throughout the mindscape, "And I never break my promises, Kyubi. Remember that." Naruto, back from his mindscape, was not at all surprised that it was nearing sundown. He got to his feet as the proximity seal on the gate alerted him of someone's arrival. Not bothering to wear a shirt, Naruto reached the gate, clad in just his shinobi pants, his sensory abilities easily recognizing the person as Anbu Nico. Opening the gate, he was therefore not surprised to see that it was indeed Nico, but this time sans her Anbu mask. Knowing the protocol, he smiled and motioned for her to enter. "Hey there, Yugao-chan. Bachan let you go early today? By the way, channel some chakra on the seal, would you?" Seeing her questioning gaze, Naruto elaborated, "Have to get you registered to the seals so that you can enter." The Kenjutsu user, not showing any discomfort at his lack of clothing, channeled some of her chakra to the seal that was now visible on the gate. The seal, once again, glowed before vanishing. Getting the go-ahead from the blonde Tokubetsu Jonin, Yugao entered the house and finding the house in a respectable condition gave an approving nod. "You shouldn't talk about Hokage-sama like that, Naruto-kun. She is the leader of the village." The blonde waved her off. "I call them as I see them, Yugao-chan. Ero-senin is a pervert, so I call him so. You have seen how he calls himself a super pervert, so I don't think it is wrong to call him so. Similarly, Tsunade-bachan is an old lady who uses a special genjutsu. Besides, she is technically my bachan from my mother's side, so she can't do anything in that instance." Sensing that his escort wasn't moving, he turned around to see a shocked Yugao, with her beautiful face, in his opinion, turning pale. "Oh, how do you know?" she gasped. A look of remembrance came across the blonde's face. "Oh. You weren't there when I told Bachan, were you?" Not waiting for a reply, he continued, "Yeah, Erokyofu told me about them. Besides, I saw his face nearly every day and couldn't make the connection. After all, who has hair structure like mine in the entire village?" It's like I'm his carbon copy, except for the face structure, that is. Ero Kyofu? Yugao asked, her eyebrow twitching at the insinuation of another pervert present in the blonde's life. Naruto arched an eyebrow. You didn't know? Toussaint and Kasen appointed Erosenin as my godfather. He might be a pervert through and through, but deep, very deep within he is a good man. Yeah, deep, deep within. Yugao replied tersely, as another thought came to her mind. Wait, you mean to say that not only you had a super pervert for a godfather and a mentor, but a pervert for a near god brother and sensei as well? Naruto replied with a chuckle, as both entered the house while moving towards the living room. Yeah, I know there was no way I wasn't going down that path. But still, I think I have managed to avoid going to their extreme levels. And while I like the opposite sex probably more than other guys and am open about my sexuality, I don't go out of the way to see female flesh. Besides, traveling with Erosenin has made me familiar with the female sex to a level that very few males can accomplish. Let me tell you, no matter how much goofy he may seem, Erosenin has extreme in-depth knowledge in that matter. And that is why I am able to do this. Do what NAR? She had no time to finish her sentence, as the blonde shinobi embraced her firmly. Her confusion was quenched when the blonde began to speak, in a tone so serious that she still had trouble associating with the hyperactive, happy-go-lucky blonde bundle of joy. I'm sorry, Yugao-chan. He spoke as he buried his head in her shoulder. I'm sorry, I forgot I had a friend even before I joined the academy. The friend who looked after me from the shadows, who would come out to play with me even though she didn't have to. A friend who I didn't even go to see when I became a ninja, when she should have been the first person I should have visited. A friend whom I abandoned when she was having the toughest time of her life. I'm sorry for not being the friend I promised to be. Yugao stood there, speechless as the blonde poured his heart out in that apology, and she knew that she could count on the apology to be sincere. In that moment, the blonde ninja didn't feel like one who had defeated a legend like Hatake Kakashi. In his stead was a 6-year-old kid who had promised to forever be her friend and take care of her, no matter what the circumstances. Her hands slowly encircled the lithe frame of the blonde Jinchuriki. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. I knew that you had the attention span of a sparrow. And due to this I knew that you wouldn't have been able to keep up to me. Now, the fact that you are apologizing for a promise you broke nearly a decade ago shows how much you have grown. And that is what matters. Breaking the hug, Naruto looked at her, eyes shining with conviction and determination. Then this time I make a promise of a lifetime, Yugao-chan. I will always be your friend and I will protect you with my life if I have to. Yugao would have become poignant, had the blonde not followed it up with the nice guy pose, shining teeth and extended thumb included. Several miles away from the village, Mike Guy suddenly stopped for no apparent reason, making his entire team, sans his mini-me, wary of him for some reason. Let go the power of youth. Their wariness proved correct when the eccentric shinobi suddenly pumped his fist into the air, tears falling from his eyes in the form of waterfall, while somehow they simultaneously had fire burning within them. Niji and Tenten, despite having grown accustomed to their sensei, groaned, knowing what was about to follow. YOSH. Gi-sensei. Let's explode with the power of youth. Both Yugao and Naruto shuddered as the phantom echo of youth reached their ears, the feeling of wanting to stay away from the village gate suddenly creeping upon them. Anyways, now that you are here I wanted to tell you that I was going to place a few seals on each of you guys and wanted to know when you were free. What kind of seals? Yugao asked, interested in what the blonde had in store. Not much, truth be told, Naruto shrugged. Some basic ones, including a chakra and health monitoring seals that informs me about the general health of the recipient. Another seal is embedded in that particular one that acts as a locating beacon once the health of the person drops down drastically. The worse the condition, the faster the impulse. I have already etched one on Air Zero Sanin and one of my clones is searching for Kakashi-sensei so that he can get one too. Won't the chakra channeling through my body affect the seal? Yugao inquired, impressed with the seal and was already thinking of ways it could be used in the ANBU core. And why can you not place it on me right now? For your chakra affecting the seal, Naruto began, no, it won't. The seal is a passive one that does not come into action unless the conditions are fulfilled. So channeling your chakra into the seal won't have any effect on it. As for placing it now, can't do that, Yugao-chan. The seals are different for males and females. Etching them on Kakashi-sensei is easier than on you. Why not apply the same seals on both? She asked, extremely impressed at the blonde's work. Naruto gave a sly grin at that. Erosenin has the seal placed on his chest and Kakashi-sensei will have it placed on there as well. If you still want it there, I'm ready to do it right now. Yugao, despite being trained as an ANBU, couldn't help but blush at the blonde's words. Quickly permeating it, she scowled at the cheeky grin the Tokubetsu Jonin had on his face. Naruto-kun, do I have to bring my sword out? She spoke in a sweetened voice, a voice that sent an involuntary shiver down the blonde's spine. He sighed while shaking his head. You people seriously don't know how to take a joke. Don't worry, I already had decided to place one on Tsunade-bachan, and no matter how much it may seem, I don't want to be on the receiving end of her fist. For females, the seal can be placed on their back, although a small part of it will still need to be etched on your chest, and you will have to be topless for that. And before you start calling me a pervert, just think how much Ero-sennin would have enjoyed being in my place. The purple-haired ANBU, who was on her way to label the blonde a pervert, stopped for a moment, and placed Jiraiya in place of Naruto before giving a shudder at the thought. She really didn't want to be in any kind of clothless situation with the self-proclaimed super pervert. Sighing, she simply decided to choose the better of the two evils. All right, Naruto-kun, I'll let you place the seal. Overlooking the loud shout of Yada, she continued, but take one peep and I'll make sure that the Uzumaki name doesn't continue any further. Have I made myself clear? Naruto, not wanting any harm come to his family jewels, nodded fervently. Don't worry, Yugao-chan, if I want to peek I'll simply ask. You'll let your favorite ninja have a peek if I ask like a good boy, won't you? He added in an all too innocent voice. Naruto-kun, Yugao spoke, in a voice that Naruto immediately recognized. Please refrain from acting like your sensei, or I will have to make do on my promise to prevent you from procreating. Naruto started shaking his hands in a placating manner. Oh come on, Yugao-chan. He whined, I was just kidding. You guys really need to unwind a bit, you know. Anyways, now that you are here, we can finally catch up. I can apply the seals in a few days. You don't have any scheduled missions in the next few days, do you? The ANBU leader shrugged, don't know. You know that we can be called for a mission anytime. And returning to train so soon? Don't you want to rest? I'll rest when I die, Yugao-chan. Naruto replied seriously. Until then I have 9 unknown S-rank ninjas after me. And I won't stop training until I am sure that I can defeat each and every one of them without bringing any harm to my precious people. A solemn look came across Yugo's face. You really intend to fight Akatsuki by yourself, don't you? Not if I can help it. There are very few ninja currently in the village who can fight an S-rank ninja by themselves, and while I may not be currently strong enough, I intend to reach that level. Yugao smiled wistfully. Then I guess I will have to help you reach that level, won't I? Naruto gave a whoop in delight, bringing her in for a quick yet strong hug, before taking a few steps back. Thanks, Yugao-chan. Knew I could count on you. Just tell me when you want that spar and I'll be ready. By the way, you didn't tell me why you came to see me. The ANB waved him off as both entered the kitchen. Just wanted to ask you about that spar and how you managed to get a samurai to train you in kenjutsu. They are extremely secretive regarding their kenjutsu. Naruto motioned for her to sit while he himself sat in front of her, and without using any seals, created a clone. Tea or coffee, Yugao-chan? Some tea would be nice, I guess. As the clone started preparing the beverage, Naruto answered, truth be told, I harassed him for close to a month before he even thought about teaching me. I told him about my status as a Jinchuriki and how the Akatsuki can be a threat to the entire world, the samurais included. At first, he was outright denying, saying that it was a ninja matter and that no samurai could be seen helping a ninja as it would affect their neutral status. Yugao nodded, knowing that the samurai of Tetsu no Kuni would not endanger their neutral status. In the end, he understood how a group of S-rank ninjas getting hold of the Biju could be disastrous. Well, that or he simply got fed up with my pestering. A giggle escaped Yugao's mouth, as she thought how true the last statement was. She remembered the first time she had made herself known to the energetic blonde. After getting over the fact that he had a new friend, an ANBU to boost, he had pestered her for days to train him to be a ninja. Eventually, she had simply conceded to his wishes and, after getting confirmation from the Sandame, taught him the basics of the ANBU taijutsu style, something which the blonde had eventually gone on to adopt into his own style. Naruto smiled, seeing his oldest friend happy and smiling. While he had been on the mass pranking spree the entire week, he hadn't been doing so just for the fun of it. Throughout the week, he had infiltrated every important building in the village. He had been told to do so by Jiraiya himself, in order to check the security in the village. While infiltrating the ANBU headquarters hadn't been an easy task, he had done so. And there, he had seen the mission reports regarding Yugao. The higher-ups, while extremely satisfied with her work, were concerned with the increasing number of solo S ranks she had been taking. And it was only recently when she had started to mellow down a bit. That had made him feel guilt-ridden, as he thought about how he had abandoned her at the time of her need. And it was then that he had decided to help her, as best as he could. He refocused his attention, when he saw her talking. So, how was it traveling with Jiraiya-sama? It was fun. He shrugged, though for most part we stayed out of focus, didn't want Akatsuki to find out where we were. Though traveling with Ero-sennin was nice. He may be a pervert, but man does he know his stuff. Really? Yugao asked, intrigued at what the Gama-sennin had taught the blonde. So, he must have taught you a lot of things. Naruto smirked. That was a nice way to try to find my abilities, Yugao-ken. Though I had thought you'd be more subtle. Yugao blushed, though Naruto knew it was due to the fact that she had been caught at the attempt to gather intelligence about his skill. You will have to wait like the rest to see what I am truly capable of, Yugao-chan. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just that there are still various things that I need to perfect, and I don't want to use them unless I am sure about them. Still, when we spar, you can get to know about a lot of things, and I'll have the chance to better my kenjutsu. The blonde shinobi went on to tell the ANBU captain about the various places he visited, along with the various missions he took, though he held back the details to a large part of it. Yugao didn't seem to mind, knowing that as their Jinchuriki, most of the details regarding him were considered a secret. The pair talked for what felt like hours, which was further evidenced by the setting of the sun. When Yugao started to excuse herself to go home, Naruto requested her to stay for dinner. When she tried to decline, saying that she had to prepare dinner for her roommates, Naruto decided to have none of it. He simply told her that he, and by that he meant his clone, would prepare enough food to feed at least 10 people which she could take home for her roommates. They were joined mid-conversation by Ikejinu, who had removed her red kimono and was dressed in a loose bathrobe. Yugao was not surprised to find the kunoichi in the house, the Hokage already having informed her that Ikejinu would be living with the Uzumaki. The first few minutes that they talked, Yugao felt as though she was being examined by the kunoichi. After those particular minutes passed though, the two females seemed to get along just fine. Naruto, who had gone to check on the food that was being prepared by his clones, returned into the room to find the two kunoichi getting familiar with each other and smiling at something. Though they immediately stopped when they saw him enter. Shrugging it off as females being females, although he had a hard time the two professional kunoichi acting as such, he informed them that the food had been served. Yugao tried to embarrass him, saying that he wanted to have his date that night itself. Naruto, a deadpan on his face, simply said that trying that on him was not going to do anything, as traveling with perhaps the biggest pervert in the elemental nations had desensitized him to such acts. In the end, the trio spent even more time talking about their travels while Naruto hectored her in trying to help him prank Granny Tsunade. She conceded that while most of the plans that he outlined were good, as an ANBU, the captain of Rohan nonetheless, it was her sworn duty to protect the Hokage. Naruto merely refuted, saying that the pranks that he would do would her no harm and that it'd make her focus her job as Hokage even more. Naruto spent the rest of dinner flirting with the ANBU member and trying to get a rise out of her. And if the small blush by the end of the dinner was any evidence, he had succeeded in that endeavor. Making her way home, large amount of food stored in special scrolls that the Uzumaki confessed was something he came up with to keep it warm, she couldn't help but feel how much she had enjoyed the evening with the blonde and his house guest. While she could see that he was influenced by his teachers, he wasn't a complete pervert like either one of them. Something which she was pleased about. Oh, she knew that when Karina and Anko found that she spent the evening with a male, she'd get teased to hell. Still, it was worth getting a good friend back. Meanwhile, on the other side of the village, Naruto was going through a scroll. It was one that he had found quite recently, and was something that even Jiraiya didn't know about. Although he had discussed it with Ikejinu, who was in support of his method, no matter how decadent it may seem. As he browsed through it, having already read it scrupulously, he focused on the conversation he was having with his inner beast. You know what you have to do, don't you, Kyubi? You don't have to worry about anything, brat. Just see to it that you fulfill your promise. The colossal Biju replied ambiguously. Although it wasn't necessary given the fact that the conversation was going on in his mind, the blonde shinobi had gotten into the habit of keeping things as much cryptic as possible. How long will it take you to properly heal me? The entire night. Now stop procrastinating and get to it. I'm doing it, you damn fox. Naruto grumbled mentally, as he moved towards the bedroom, Ikejinu having already gone to sleep knowing what the blonde was about to do. And what will happen to my chakra control? It won't be shot to hell, as you are afraid of. Kyubi spoke with a sneer. Though I would recommend you to not use your super strength until you get your control back up to par. Naruto could feel the sarcasm dripping from the Biju when he spoke about the Tsunade's super strength. And truth be told, the blonde knew that for a Biju like Kyubi, it was indeed nothing who could squash mountains with the flick of his tail. Damn it. He couldn't help but curse out loud. All that effort simply wasted down the toilet. You asinine ape. Kyubi growled, getting tired of the blonde's grouching. Did I say that you can never use it again? This stopped Naruto short, as he once again focused on the conversation. I just said that you will have to make some effort to bring your control back to acceptable levels. Naruto nodded, relieved to hear some good news. And using your chakra? He asked further. Using my chakra without any drawback is impossible unless you completely rip away the seal and defeat me in combat. Kyubi scoffed. If you are able to do that, I will happily give away my chakra for you to use. Till then, you will always be at a risk of running rampant. Though, if the procedure goes on without a hitch, it might get easier to overcome the bloodlust. Naruto sat in the bedroom, going through the information, before he noticed something, although it was more like the lack of a certain someone. Before he could cry out in panic, he decided to ask his tenant. Hey QB? Do you know where Fuchan is? QB blinked once before paying attention back to the question the blonde had put, before he started guffawing. His guffaws slowly turned to smirk as he addressed the blonde shinobi. You truly are one of a kind idiot. Ignoring the loud protest of HEY, he continued, Did you forget that you were the one who sent her to the bug wielders? That airhead girl is across the village, in the territory of those bug wielders. I still can't believe Chomei is sealed in someone like her and still enjoys talking to her. I don't know. Naruto shrugged. Besides, if you leave aside the carefree nature, she is a good ninja. Anyways, I still don't understand how you freely use the names of other Biju, yet when I ask for your real name, you deny it. Isn't that kind of being a hypocrite? Call me whatever you want, you brat. My siblings are nothing but fools who give their names to everyone whom they find interest in. The fact remains that until and unless you gain my respect, I won't give you my name bequeathed unto me by my father. And that can only happen if you somehow defeat me. And the way you are currently, it is nothing but a pipe dream. You say it now, QB, the blonde chuckled, but when the fight between me and you ends, you will have to tell me your real name and acknowledge me as your first true friend. QB simply scoffed as Naruto prepared himself for the night. As if I'll ever be defeated by a brat like you. As the night wore on in Kanehigakure no Sado, no one paid attention as a figure, decked in all black, moved through the village, using the shadows as though they were a part of his body. Eventually, he moved towards the outskirts of the village, the area surrounded by multitude of trees and looking as though no one had visited there for decades. He searched for a while, before he finally came across a paved path, the path leading him towards a building. The building, which seemed to be barely standing, had a traditional look to it, if one were to overcome the devastating state it was in. There was a nearly fallen-apart gate, etched upon which was a symbol that was common in every Konoha flak jacket. The spiraling symbol of the Uzumaki clan. The figure quickly, yet carefully, entered the building, knowing that the masters of Fuinjutsu were not to be trifled with. He was therefore surprised when he did not encounter any trap even though he had entered the inner sanctum of the building. Having reached the inner sanctum, he smiled when he found what he was looking for. In front of him was a podium, hanging on which were several Oni masks, hung beneath 3 connected symbols of the clan, drawn under all of which were ornate black flames. The figure took out a scroll from his clothes, and channeled chakra into the kanji squiggled on it. Immediately, another scroll, much larger than the previous ones, appeared in front of him. He unfurled the scroll, which had kanji, similar to that on the smaller scroll, squiggled on it. The only difference being that the larger scroll contained several such drawings etched on it. He started taking out each mask one by one and stored them in the larger scroll carefully. By the time he was done, only one mask remained. The figure cautiously picked the mask and, taking a deep breath, put it on his half-hidden face. As soon as he did, a feeling of dread passed through him, as though warning him that what he was doing was unnatural, but he persevered. Knowing that there was no turning back, he went through hand seals at a lightning pace, before finishing with a clap of hands. Shiki Fujin Kai. Suddenly, the wind picked up, billowing his clothes, the feeling of dread multiplying. The figure didn't know, but the limited amount of animals and birds that were near the temple ran away in fear of their lives. No sooner had the figure finished the name of the technique, did the terrifying visage of the Shinigami appeared right behind him. He could feel the deathly smirk on the death god's face as the god connected to his body. The figure could feel as the Shinigami used one hand to expose its ugly, wrinkled stomach, while the other hand held his knife. The person could almost feel the grin on the god's face getting wider as it swung the knife and plunged it into its own stomach. Irk! The figure groaned in pain, as a similar-looking wound appeared on his torso and blood seeped from his body at a tremendous rate. However, the figure's pain intensified when the Shinigami ran the knife across its torso, intensifying the wound on the person. The figure gritted his teeth, waiting for something to happen, as blood continued to flow out of his body. Suddenly, he felt something. He felt as though something was trying to escape his torso, more specifically the wound in his torso. He wanted to prevent that from happening, but a voice within his head stopped him short and shouted out loud that this is what he came to do. Abandoning his previous thought, he simply let go. And from the wound in his torso emerged 5 lights. He knew what those lights were and who those belonged to. So, as one of the lights decided to go into a different direction, he and through his extension, the Shinigami caught it before it escaped. After all, he didn't want the blight on humanity to get his arms back, did he? He could feel it try to free itself and try to make a break for it. However, the Shinigami thought different. He had already lost 4 souls from the pit of his stomach, and it wouldn't lose one which was in his grasps. So, he pulled hard. The shard of soul was sucked back into the Shinigami, and despite having lost 4 souls, it could do nothing as the person dissipated the technique and took off the mask. Immediately, the feeling of dread vanished and the figure took a deep breath and focused his attention on the wound in his torso. Unsurprisingly for him, the wound had started closing itself, although at an extremely slow pace. Taking another breath, he placed the mask in the larger scroll and then stored the larger one back into the smaller scroll. He then took out 4 other scrolls and unfurled them all around him. As the kanji spread out, there were 4 puffs of smoke, which immediately dispersed to show 4 unconscious people placed at the center of each scroll. I really hate this technique, the person muttered before he started going through another set of hand seals, albeit at an extremely slow pace, before speaking in a plain tone. Kuchios, Edo Tensei. It was close to night in the village of Sunagakure no Sato. A white bird-like figure, invisible to almost everyone in the ground due to the height, was flying above the village, a person perched atop its body. The person was a man with slanted blue eyes and very long blonde hair which he wore drawn into a half ponytail with the rest hanging down freely. The bang hanging over his left eye is what concealed his eye scope, signifying that he was most probably a long-range fighter. He was dressed in a long, black cloak with red clouds, which hid whatever he was wearing underneath it. As dusk made its way into the night, he quickly turned his focus to the 3 spider-like creations of his latched on to the 3 guards' faces, strangling them. He huffed at the trio who were struggling to free themselves. Look at those fools, showing no appreciation for true art. You have to feel true art. Unforming a half-ram sign, he smirked, for true art is an explosion. Katsu. The 3 spiders exploded, showering the area around the 3 with blood and brain matter, immediately ending their lives. The smirk widened, as the bird flew over to the large circular building at the center of the village. Swooping down to a certain height, the blonde jumped off the bird and, with a somersault, landed in a crouch. Infiltration successful, he muttered to himself with a smile. The smile, however, turned to a slight frown as he noticed someone standing in front of him. As he looked up, he smiled at the person standing in front of him. Gaara stood before the ponytailed blonde, arms crossed over his chest, a stoic look on his face, as his clothes and hair fluttered in the wind. Gaara was a fair-skinned person, which was somewhat of an oddity considering that he lived in the desert, and had short, spiky, auburn hair. He had pale blue, green eyes with no distinctive pupils or eyebrows. 2 things, however, made his appearance stand out. First, his tanuki, like black eye rings, which he had since his birth. Second, the carved-out kanji love AI in red, on the left side of his forehead, the parted forelocks making the kanji more visible. The kage was decked in full-length dark trousers, with a pair of laces on each leg, respectively a few inches below the waist and the knees, a long, sleeved crimson coat with flaring hemlines and slits down on the lower half of the front and the back. A gray holster vest held in place by a single strap over his left shoulder and by 2 buckled belts, which supported his gourd. He was also wearing another pair of casually worn belts around his waist. Finally, finishing the ensemble were a pair of Sunagakure's standard shinobi sandals. The stoic gaze didn't leave the blonde ninja as he stood back up, the grin on his face never faltering. They stared at each other for a few minutes, before Gaara decided to break the silence. This is as far as you go. He spoke in a cold, stoic tone, which would have made ordinary shinobi piss their pants. What if Naruto kage level after training trips Sasuke bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.